right. Good morning, good morning. How we doing, guys? At least it is morning for me. Maybe it's later in the day for some of you guys. If so, hope you're having a good day so far. What's going on, guys? Patriot, hello, good morning. Patriot Paul, what's up, dude? Good morning. Sean W, what's up? Good morning. Guys have been a great help for me. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. You've not dived into farming yet too much, so you're looking forward to see. Nice, awesome, good. Great to hear that. I really appreciate you saying that about the guides too. Thank you so much. Mo Smarties, what's up, dude? Good morning to you. Glad to see you. Glad to see you in here. Hope you're having a great weekend. Hope everyone's having a good weekend here. So, I was a little surprised that we haven't seen the update yet. I'm not gonna lie. I really thought that it would be. I thought it would be out by this weekend. So, we'll see. But I really got to think it's coming soon. Very soon. I mean, it's always coming soon, right? Soon, TM. But yeah, I really genuinely think it's coming soon. So, all right, guys. So I had posted a poll on the channel this weekend about what we should do for the live streams this weekend and farming. There was a bunch of votes that came in. Appreciate you guys giving your input on that. And then farming was definitely the top answer. So we are going to set up a farming town here. I went ahead and did some of the tedious process of re-rolling the region a few times, to try to get a good fertility, which, as we know, can be, in my opinion, that's kind of one of the downsides with farming, right? Is that, you kind of are limited by needing fertility, rich fertility in the region, at least to do a full farming setup. And I just want to preface this by saying that, like, to be honest, I don't use farming, like a full farming setup. I don't use farming very often. It's probably like my least preferred rich resource to get, to be honest with you. That being said, that is just totally a personal preference. Like farming, a full farming setup is extremely strong, and obviously, we'll go through some of that here, but extremely strong. It's just, it does, if you're doing a full farming setup with rich fertility in the region, it's a pretty unique place to, what I mean? Your town layout, your setup, your play style, labor assignments, all that kind of stuff are going to be quite a bit different than, a standard, what I would consider like a standard setup, just, using traditional gathering of, other food sources or even, in this case, we're also talking about clothing from the flax and ale from the barley, excuse me. So, there's a lot to think about here. I just wanted to point out before we get started that, there may be some things that I'm not 100% on point, have the most efficient whatever information for here with farming, because it's not something that I use constantly as much as I do with other techniques. But definitely, we'll get through a lot here. So hopefully it will be a fun stream, and hopefully you guys learn something, and hopefully, have some fun. It made sense? Yeah, we must wait longer. That's right. They're keeping us in anticipation as always, right? That's right, Smarties. All right, guys. So, laying out our town and kind of doing some pre-planning here is, that's kind of important always, no matter what you're, even if you're not doing a farming setup. But with the farming setup, it's even more important to make sure that we're going to do as much kind of pre-planning as possible, because we need to work with the land. We can't, like if you put in a backyard garden with orchards or with vegetables or whatever, right? doesn't matter where you put those at all. The land fertility has no effect on that. But here, we have to definitely make sure that we are working with the land. And that being said, if we build a bunch of, if we start building our town on top of these rich fertility areas that we're going to end up wanting to use, then that's going to create, a big time headache for us down the line here, right? So first thing is we want to definitely think ahead. So for the emmer is wheat, by the way. If you guys, I'm sure most of you already knew that, but emmer is just the medieval word for wheat, basically, I guess. So you're probably going to have like rich patches of wheat, like majority in your area. That's probably not going to be too much of an issue. What you're going to want to look for is the flax and the barley. Even in a rich fertility region, which is what we have here, the flax and the barley is going to be a lot more limited. So as we can see here, there's quite a bit of patches of just the yellow, which is not that great. And there's only certain areas that have the patches of the green, and then even less that have the dark green, which we really want the dark green. So, and any areas that we can find overlap between flax and barley. So like right here, there's like a chunk of barley, and there's also like a little bit of like a flax, dark green, and it's right near our starting area. I'm kind of thinking that this is a good area. So like we probably don't really want to build anything over here. No residential area, none of that to take up the space. So we'll probably put a bunch of fields over here, and then we can, also put wheat, flax, and barley. We have decent, decent fertility for each of those in this section. The flax kind of bleeds over a little bit over to here. So, but, it's not going to be, that's how it is, right? You're not going to get like a perfect, you could get lucky and you have like an insane layout with the fertility. What's up, Jay Lalbin? What's going on, dude? We're gonna do rye or wheat. So we're probably gonna do wheat. We'll probably, potentially do some of both. But wheat will probably be what we end up doing. If as long as it looks like we're not going to have any issue making sure that the wheat is going to be in a high fertility area when we set that up. Otherwise, we can do rye, because rye is going to, if you have a rich fertility area, if we zoom out, we can see like literally the entire region is going to be dark green for rye. That's going to be you can place that literally anywhere. You don't have to think about that. So rye has like a bit more leeway in that regard. But we'll get into, if you've watched my bread video, I don't want to yap too much here before we get started on setting up the town, but if you watch the bread video, just long story short, kind of the main reason we'll focus more on wheat compared to rye is just because we have more potential for once we get our trade set up and stuff, and we are producing a bunch of bread. The wheat is more profitable than the rye if we're, especially if we're producing it ourselves. Wheat bread sells for 5 regional coin each, if I'm not mistaken. So we can make some pretty good income. Just, we're going to have, if you've watched the bread video, I'm sure we're going to have so much bread here in the town that, we're going to be feeding our town and using it for economy. So that being said, we do need to make sure that we level up at least one level 2 house to get the bakery extension. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop in here. So as we can see, our starting settlement is right here, and that's not too far. We were kind of planning out doing, I think, a farming setup, on the other side of the main road here, or at least like a starting section for us to lay some fields out, because it looked like we had a decent fertility patch over there, right, with some overlap. We do also have a fishing deposit right here, which is not too far. So we'll use this to help ourselves out, particularly in the earlier stages here, to make, help with our food demands before we have all of our farming infrastructure set up, because it's going to take us a little bit, to get fully rocking with all that kind of stuff. Pardon me. So first thing we do, as usual, we'll start with, a lot of the stuff will be kind of similar here for the starting. We just wanted to make sure that we really plan ahead about utilizing those fertile land areas. But first of all, let's go ahead and just set up a little starting area here. We know we're going to use the fishing. We know we need wood cutting, as always. That's, pretty much a necessity in every single playthrough. So we'll go ahead and get our wood cutter over here, and we'll get our hitching post so we can order that second oxen right away. Put that on high priority so they do that first. And then we'll get our storage buildings to get our initial supplies stored away. That's just all pretty much standard. And I have been working on, I've been preparing a lot with the, we'll order that second ox right away. Just pretty much do this in every playthrough. I've been preparing the revamped guide, fully, you know, the edited guide and everything for, I'm gonna double staff that. Actually, we'll single staff it for now. And we're going to get granary here. So we might want to think ahead about, you know, we have fish over here. We're going to be doing farming over here. So, you know, we don't want granary too far from either of these locations. I mean, the granary will end up being, you know, kind of the drop-off area for once the bread is produced. And also, you know, we're going to need it for other things like, you know, fish and other stuff as well. So we're just trying to put it in as central as a position as possible. I'm thinking we want to have it closer to our farming more than anything, you know. So I'm just going to put it right here. So we'll go with that, and then we're going to go storehouse as well. And storehouse, I'm thinking pretty much just right next to that's probably going to be fine, to be honest. All right. And I have been preparing a lot for the fully edited guide for the revamped ideal start. I've just been waiting for. I was hoping the beta would come out. I have been waiting for more, you know, like official guides and stuff until they finish the patch and stuff, because it's a bit hard. I was also testing out. Side note here, I was testing out some, like, I really want to make a guide for. Like sausages, using the butcher's shop and sausages production chain and stuff. And like, especially if you don't have like salt in your region, and seeing how viable it would be and stuff. And there's like a development perk that makes it where the importing costs of salt are reduced. But it doesn't work right now. I tested it out, and I was like, I did a whole town for it and everything before I realized like wait, these import prices are the exact same. Like, nothing has been reduced here. So what's going on? That was a bummer, but more official guides coming very soon. Hopefully, once they drop that officially and fix up some of those internal issues. But as far as I understand, there's not really any issues with farming in the beta here, so this will be interesting. As you guys can see here, what I did is just a standard practice here of we built our storage buildings, and I turned off market stall. And we're just staffing them up temporarily so that they put away all of the starting supplies that are just sitting out in the open. That way, because we're going to have weather coming here soon. It's probably going to start raining any minute. And we want to make sure that those supplies are safely stored from the weather. All right, so once these guys are all done, see, they're pretty much done putting away all that crap. Make sure that the granary stuff gets done. They're done putting away all the storehouse stuff. Very good. All right. So, we have a few options here. We'll probably get our fisherman's hut up. Actually, no, let's get housing up first. So, this is another thing that's going to be, you know, I've kind of talked about it in a few of these playthroughs, and obviously will be, you know, more detailed in the guide, you know, the actual guide like I was talking about for new town setup and stuff. But basically, building houses right away, like very soon into your playthrough, is a really good idea now. I'm going to put just not quite wet enough. I just want to put a little market area right here. Marketplace. There we go. Cool. I like that setup. And then we'll just line this with houses. We're not going to have enough materials, obviously, to build all those at once. So we'll just start with a couple. How much wood do we have? 4. So we'll just start with 2 houses. All right, so now we're just going to work on getting in our first 5 houses here as we have the wood available, and they should be done working, putting away all this food here at the granary, right? So done with that. Let's double assign here on the logging camp, and basically just want to make sure these houses come in now. So previously, you know, we right now we wouldn't really be too concerned about like homelessness, and we have like so much other stuff that we want to get done before housing, but yeah, the new approval system is extremely lenient, and we're basically just you can really just dive into building houses right away. And as a matter of fact, if you just build a well, so we'll just build a water well right here in our residential area, right next to our market and storage and stuff is fantastic. So even if you just build a water well and you build 5 houses, I mean, you could even do this before anything. You could even literally not even worry about a logging camp or storage or whatever, and you could just build 5 houses and a water well and nothing else, and your approval is going to go up. It's crazy. I'm wondering if they're going to adjust that. It feels a little too lenient in my opinion, but we'll see. All right, so I got that water well, and then we'll build. I'm just continuing to build houses as the resources are available. So we got 2 more wood, 1 more house. We're just going to get up our first 5 houses here, and we should be nearly having all the houses. We should almost have all the houses by the end of the first month here. So if you can get storage up, your initial supplies put away. You got a logging camp going and a water well, and then all 5 houses or close to all 5 houses by the end of March as you're going into the first month of finishing your first month of the game, going into April. You're going to be in a very good spot. See, look, our approval's literally already going up, and we haven't even gotten at them. It's kind of, and we're not even supplying them with anything other than water. They're just happy to have water. These are some simple folk, They don't complain. Yeah, you wonder if all the adjustments are delaying? Yeah, right. Totally, smarties. That is very true. I mean, that being said, I think that there's a lot of things that are delaying. Like, if we're talking the actual 1.0 release, oh man, that's like, I feel like there's so much, like, regardless of any of these issues on the current beta, and to your point, I mean, sure, they probably set themselves far, maybe even a little farther back than their original timeline or whatever, but I think they just have so much on their plate, like, that they really want to do for this game that's still just, like, so far down the line. It's, like, crazy. Like, I know they've talked about adding, cavalry units, and like really expanding a lot of the military stuff, and I don't know, who knows how far along we are realistically, I guess, but I'm sure but I don't know, it's a double-edged sword though. Like we kind of talked about in the last one, so we're getting our last house here. This will be house number 5, and then we're just building 1 more so that we have 6, just in case so when we get to the next month, we'll be ready for a family move-in as well. But yeah, hopefully, but what we mean though is hopefully that they'll be more efficient moving forward since they expanded the development team, right? So but we'll see. We can only do so much as a lowly lord here, a lowly lord of Rohalok. We only have so much influence in the lands. All right, cool. There's our 5 houses, so all of our villagers are housed, and they're happy because they have water. They're simple folk. Very simple folk. All right. So legitimately, that's all you need. That's actually all you need to start start a town and get like positive approval. But of course, we do need to make sure that we're leveling up houses as well, at least one house, right? Because we want to put the bakery extension and other things as well. So of course, we do need to make sure that we're fulfilling more than just water. But yeah, it is a little bit goofy that right now. I mean, as you guys can see, I mean, our approval is on the rise already. All right, so now we're going to put in a fishing here, and we're gonna make sure that we're doing some fishing just while we are working on setting up farming infrastructure and stuff, because that'll take us a little bit of time, and we will need having a an alternative food source that's just from a easy gathering task in the meantime will help us out. Now, if you do not have any sort of, like, say you have a rich fertility region and you're like, oh, I do not have a fishing node or like a berry deposit or a mushroom deposit or anything like that, it seems highly unlikely. I do believe you would have probably at least one of those, even if it wasn't a rich deposit, even just a regular version of at least one of those. But I don't know, say it was like really far away or, whatever the case was, and you just kind of didn't really have access to it. We would need to adjust this strategy a little bit. Would probably treat it more of like, I don't know if any one of you guys have done the merchant or what's it called? The merchant achievement. Where basically you're not allowed to harvest, like fish or meat or berries or anything like that. And the strategy there would basically be, we would have already be right now, instead of being like, oh, we're going to do fishing, we would just set up some fields right away. And to an extent, that's what we're going to do right now. We just took a little bit of a detour there with putting in a fisherman's hut, which we'll go ahead and staff up real quick. We have our second ox coming into the town, which is great. Okay, so now we're going to start working on farming. But if we didn't have access to any of those, what we would have really you want to make sure that you get, probably as soon as you finish your initial housing setup or whatever, like the storage and housing like we just finished, then you just immediately start put in like at least one, maybe two small fields, and get up a farmhouse and get those planted like right away. And you would do a harvest this autumn, and it wouldn't be a full harvest, but you would get enough to bake, enough bread to kind of get you through. And we'll do that to an extent here. We just we do also have one person assigned over here in the fishing hut too in the meantime. So yeah, you would take the hunting. True. Also true, Smarties. Yes. I've heard really good things about that hunting hound, and we did try it in the last live stream where we did the challenge to get to the tier 3 housing as quick as possible. Yes, very good call. So yeah, I know this one right here, right, of the Vogt land. Yeah. The hunting hound has been a new fan favorite. And it basically just passively provides meat, right? So now what I don't know, and I suppose maybe, we could potentially test it here, or maybe I'll just test it another time and give you guys the intel, but like, for example, we do not have this is just a bit of a side tangent here, but we do not have a hunting deposit in this region, right? So I don't know if that would actually still yield us the passive meat from the hunting hound or not. That is a good question. I don't know if anyone out there has tested it. Otherwise, I'll probably test it soon. I'll give you guys the intel. But we'll go ahead and get started on our farming setup here. So we have our initial housing. We have one extra house for someone to move in, so we're ahead on that. We're gathering wood. We got our second ox, and we're gathering fish in the meantime. And we're not... Luckily, like, another reason why this is a bit more feasible now to have, like, a starting farming town with the labor requirements is the fact that, like, we're not even necessarily worried about, due to how lenient the approval is and stuff, we're not even necessarily worried about, we don't have anyone, working a market stall or stocking a market stall or anything right now. Essentially, we should be down 2 staff otherwise. Like previously to this, at this point, we would essentially need to have someone already on the granary and the storehouse to manage our approval to make sure that they're stocking market stalls. Since we don't have to worry about that, we have essentially 2 more families at our disposal here for the beginning stages that you pretty much wouldn't have beforehand, right? Or it would be tough. You would be struggling. We would be struggling with approval right now. So this does make this a bit more feasible. So like I said, we're going to really think ahead about this flax and barley area. That's the main thing that we kind of want to preserve, is these areas for the flax and the barley. But we do want to make sure that we have like farmhouse and all that, like very compact and efficient logistical setup as usual as well. Very important with the farming, as it is with everything in this game, but the farming is like very labor intensive, as we mentioned. So having an efficient logistical setup here is even more important than ever. All right. I wish you could. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can. Nice. I guess you just have to click it again. So if you click the field and your overlay goes away, then if you just click it again, you should be able to make a field while you have the overlay on. All right, so we want to make sure that we're utilizing. And so here's a big one here, guys. So I know there's quite a bit of debate. I've heard a bunch of different techniques here about like what is the best sort of farm to make, like size, you know what I mean, size and shape of farm fields, what's the most efficient. What I have found personally, and what I have seen, many others I feel say, along the same lines, is that making strips somewhat like this, so kind of thin strips, about half a Morgan. So right here we see 0.5 Morgan, and you want it to be like as rectangular as like even rectangle as possible. So like that's a pretty decent like rectangular strip in my opinion. It's a 0.5 Morgan. This is my formula. This is what I would recommend to you. And of course, feel free to experiment. Once again, I wouldn't say that I'm the best informant with farm. I don't use farming personally all the time. So, there could be some other strategies here. But my recommendation is strips like this, as evenly rectangular as possible. Try to keep them around half a Morgan each. So now we have that one, and we can do another one right here, 0.5, and see we're keeping it within this flax. We have a bit of overlap here with flax and barley. Very rich areas, which is going to be perfect for us. And then we already know that the wheat is just like strong basically anywhere. So these strips of farmland right here are going to be utilized for basically all 3 of those crops. And it'll be a very strong setup. So, and we'll end up maybe needing more than this down the line. But for now, I'm just going to put 4 of them. So that's a total of 2 Morgan, right? Because these are half a Morgan each. So what we want to keep into consideration here is the labor requirements. So a pretty decent rule of thumb. And once again, this is, you could do some experimenting here. There could be some variance, but based on my experience, and once again, just kind of, what I've seen other people say in the Discord and the Reddit, a decent rule of thumb is 1 family assigned per 1 Morgan of fields size that you need to work through, right? So in this case, these are all half Morgan. That's another advantage of making them, half Morgan sizes each, for example, is that we know we have 4 of them here. So we have 2 Morgan worth of fields. So I know I'm going to need 2 families assigned to get through this during the window of opportunity that we have in autumn, right? And of course, if we build more, say if we had 8 of them, then that means we have 4 Morgan worth of space. Then we need to make sure that we have 4 families available. So kind of planning ahead, that's a decent rule of thumb to keep in mind. Once again, you might find that you're able to get away with having less families assigned than that, and they're still able to get through it within the time frame or not. You could do a little bit of experimenting. I've seen some people who have done like crazy calculations, where they're like, oh, it's 1 family per every 0.8 Morgan and blah, 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 you know what I mean? Great. You know what I mean? There's definitely, you could really get into this and like, really narrow it down. But like for me, like I say, I think just a pretty decent rule of thumb is just one family per one morgan of field space that you have. And if anything with farming tasks, it's always better to be ahead than behind. So if you end up being like, oh, I feel like we were a little ahead there, that's great. I think it's way better to be ahead on farming tasks because you do have, it's time sensitive. So that being said, now obviously we need a farmhouse for them. Anytime they harvest wheat or rye in particular, they have to take that back to the farmhouse and thresh it into grain. So we're going to want to have a localized production area with our farmhouse and windmill. And we know that we have our storage buildings right over here too. So we're not really too concerned, like, once again, with the wheat fertility area, and we know we're just kind of utilizing this, across the way here. So, and we know we've kind of used the patch right here. So I'm thinking we could have like a production area right here. So if we kind of rope this off real quick, we should be able to see, so our barley ridge. So we could put more fields up here as we expand more field area. But we know this just seems like a decent area for us to put a couple buildings that's not going to get in our way of anything else. So let's go ahead and put in this farmhouse right here. That's going to be our next building task. And we are going to need, obviously, a windmill and other stuff, which is going to require planks. But all we need for now to be able to staff up and get these fields started is a farmhouse. So we're going to go ahead and get that going. And once again, guys, this is just, all the best info that I have on farming that I have to share with you guys. And, I've done a bit of research, looking throughout the Discords and Reddit and whatever. Farming is definitely this is probably the most unique, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very unique approach, and you're going to, it requires a bit more of a specific approach and setup with a bit more specific detailed information involved here comparatively with what I would consider just a standard setup. So we do have other tasks that still need to get done too. So we're not going to fully invest into everything into farming right here off the bat. Side note, we already got another family moving in, and we're not even doing anything with our approval. We just built a water well. So that being said, we do want to make sure that we have more houses. We're early in the month, so we got plenty of time. But we just want to make sure that we're staying ahead on our housing. So that we have constant, population growth. Let's move this hitching post out of the way so we can put more houses over here too. All right, so what we want to do now, we got our farmhouse here. And now when I was talking about the labor rule of thumb for like maybe, one family per one morgan of field space, that's generally for like when we have the autumn window, because you have a time frame to get it done in. So for example, right here, if we're just in the beginning of the year and we're just doing an initial setup, we don't necessarily have a time frame. We just want to get it done as soon as possible. So, basically as many people as we can get on this will be great. To start out here, it really doesn't matter. We just want to make bread. We're not really going to worry about too much about like barley and flax right now, because we don't, we're not worried about leveling up houses immediately. We're worried about feeding our population first and foremost, and then getting trade going too with selling some of this food. So wheat and rye is what we want. So like I said, you can do either one. If your goal is really just feeding the town, and rye maybe will give us a bit of, has a little bit higher fertility, but we're just going to go ahead and go wheat across the board here. There we go. And then we're going to assign 2 families. And we can keep an eye on, how long it takes them to get that stuff done. While that's going on, we're going to think ahead about our next task. So we're going to get a couple more houses ready, and then we're going to get a saw pit going and prepare for the next stage of evolving our town. Another set of houses right here. One, two, three. That'll be good. Cool. Farming is the most, yeah, Smarties for sure. Farming is the most complex settlement strategy. Absolutely. It always eats up so many villagers and limits other activities and expansion. Totally agree. Totally agree. So that's why I was saying at the beginning, like, you know, and it's an interesting one because, you know, I've thought about, I've had like a, you know, fully edited like farming guide in the works too, um, which I will probably finish up at some point. It's just it's a tough subject, you know, and it's really just not like, and I hate to say that, like, I feel like I'm usually very like discouraging about farming, and I don't mean to be, you know what I mean, because farming is great, you know what I mean. It's just I find it hard to recommend to especially like newer players, you know, because there's already so much. Manor Lords is already a complex game, right? And there's already a lot going on, and you know, farming doesn't really make things any simpler, right? So it's a bit more of a like Smarty said. I totally agree. It's a bit more of a complex setup. That being said, it can also be very rewarding. You know, it has many benefits. It has more benefits than any other single resource deposit. Like if you consider fertility as a, you know, a resource deposit, essentially, right? You get way more out of that than any other single resource. That's for sure. So it's probably, you know, it is the best single resource to have, but it's also the most labor intensive, most complex, and restricting for sure. So it's a double-edged sword. But farming also offers like a very unique like aesthetic charm to your town as well, you know, that you just kind of can't replicate otherwise. So that's the other nice thing too, you know, like having like there's something about having a farming town, you know, that just really makes it feel like, you know, like a real proper medieval town, you know. So now we got a few houses up, so we don't have to worry about that for a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and get saw pit. I'm thinking we'll do industry kind of over here next to our like storage and stuff. We're gonna gather these stones, and they'll be out of the way soon here too. But let's just do. I think that'll be fine. We'll just put a saw pit here for now. All right, so we can see our family. See, they're getting through. They're going to be working through these fields here. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. You could see. So once again, a slight bit of experimenting here as well. It could be a better idea for us to just maybe only focus on like 2 of these fields right now, for example, and that way they get like sowed and planted and everything like faster. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll go ahead and adjust that. We'll put 2 of these on low priority. So that way all of the families should move. We should see them. Yeah, see, now they're going to move to just working these fields, right? So, you know, it's just a bit of like, you just kind of need to think about like what realistically, how much labor do I have available, and what realistically am I going to be able to get done within the time frame? You know what I mean? Yeah, farming is intensive but confined. What's up, 762 Slinky? How you doing, dude? With sheep and yarn production covers. Yeah, totally, absolutely, yeah. So that's the thing, right? It's like I feel like it's a bit hard to get started like with a good farming setup. But it's like once you have it established, and it can be very rewarding. Yeah, it covers your luxury beverage requirements, clothing requirements, food requirements, and economy. As we're going to see here, we're going to make a ton of money just selling bread. Once again, if you've seen the bread video, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's actually crazy how much income we're going to make from bread here. Let's go ahead. We got a new family, so let's just go ahead and assign another person here. See, so yeah, I think this was a better call. Right? Like we don't... Our initial goal here with these initial farms that we're setting up, initial fields that we're setting up, is not to like we're not looking to get like a full harvest here. We're just trying to get as much as we can, just for like a starting supply of food to kind of get us through. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a small yield, but it'll be better than nothing. So now this fisherman's hut's done, and this is kind of once again like strategy. This right here is more of a strategy from like the merchant achievement. I'm going to turn on market stall here now so that they can go ahead and grab all the fish at the granary. We staff that and grab the fish and stuff and start supplying food to the market. Since they and the reason we did that is because they got full, they're full, right? So they can't fish anymore. So we went ahead and we had them fish as much as they could, and then we moved them to the granary. And similar over here, we're kind of getting full on timber, so we're going to move one of these guys. Oh, these guys are sick, so we're going to move the non-sick family to the saw pit. We're going to get going on making some planks. Let's set a reserve on timber. Make sure we don't use all of the timbers that we have. Very good. And we still have a couple empty houses as well. Hey, what's up, Al Mustin? You have 2 large farms with 9 families working on them. When it's time for that, mills and bakeries also take another 5-6 families. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, cool, dude. Yeah, welcome, welcome, new player. Yeah, welcome to Manor Lords, by the way. Welcome to the channel and all that. Yeah, okay, cool. 9 family. So, so your town's a little more established then, which is good. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's a big production chain, right? That's the thing. So I mean, kind of so. I mean, we're talking like about 15 families being assigned there in total, right? Yeah, that's a lot of investment to make, of course. So that's the downside with the farming, you know. Yeah, to get better fertility, you could. So there's the fence up feature, which was not a thing previously. I'm not going to worry about these other fields right now. We're just gonna. Okay, so we're good there. We set up these 2 farms. See, we're not going to get too much, but it'll be enough to get us a little bit of bread to hold us over until the next full yield. Cool. So we got that done. Now we are getting planks. We got some planks ready, so we're going to go ahead and get our windmill up. So windmill should go. I mean, we got like a 98% efficiency, like right over here. That seems pretty good to me. I mean, granary's like. Maybe it would be, if we could possibly get it like right next to the granary. Oh, so we got these stones in the way over here. I think it'll be fine over here. This is as good a spot as any. Go ahead and roll with that. So we got our windmill coming in. And then we can either just do a communal oven to start with, like temporary. Yeah, we'll probably do that because we're going to take a bit before we upgrade level 2 house. So we're going to get the windmill coming in, and we're also thinking about firewood as we're starting to have more people moving in. We got to keep up with the demands there as well. So we'll just put a firewood cutter over here too. Get those building tasks going, and we have labor available to staff these as soon as they are ready. And we'll assign the storehouse as well. We'll upgrade our storehouse and assign it. Yeah, absolutely. So you can, like Slinky mentioned, yeah. And if you've watched, I have the guide, the livestock guide. I should pin that in here. I usually have it pinned because it answers a bunch of questions about the beta and clothing and all that kind of stuff. But if you've watched the livestock sheep guide here on my channel, yeah. Sheep, livestock sheep are just, yeah, absolutely S tier right now. Moving forward, every single playthrough, every single town, you should be investing in sheep, pretty much, long story short. But yeah, you can also use them to restore the, and just to clarify here, Slinky, I just want to clarify because the wording there, I think it can be a little bit confusing. So it does not. You cannot get better fertility in the sense of like whatever the fertility is on the start. So like the flax, for example, like I don't know, over here where it's like a yellow fertility, this cannot be raised above that. This is the highest fertility that you will be able to use for flax. If we fence up pastures here, for example, it will not raise the fertility. It will only increase the rate that the fertility gets restored back to the original rate or the original amount. You know what I mean? Sorry, I feel like that wasn't the most clear explanation on that, but yeah, you cannot raise for whatever the starting fertility is. That is the max. That is the cap. You cannot raise the fertility above that. I know I've had some people asking questions, kind of getting confused about fencing up pastures. There is no way to raise the fertility. It's only increases the rate that you will return the fertility back to the original maximum. So, for example, when we planted this with wheat or whatever, it was like, I don't know, I forget what the original number was, but it was like high 80 or 90% or whatever. By the time we, finish this harvest, then the fertility will have gone down for wheat. Then we could fence up the pasture, put sheep here, and then they could restore the fertility quicker so that you could plant wheat again at a high fertility rate sooner than later. However, I really don't think that's a necessary strategy. If you, matter of fact, I don't even think it's a good strategy to use, because if you set it up properly in the way like we looked at here, where we kind of have the overlap between like these fields right here. See, these fields right here have good fertility for basically everything, right? We have 80% or above. 79, like 80% or above for everything. So like if we harvested wheat right now, then the wheat fertility will go down. Then we just turn it over, and next thing we harvest flax, right? Then the flax goes down, then the wheat's back up, and we go back to wheat, or we go to rye, or we go to barley, right? So if you put the fields in good locations like that, where you have overlap, then at no point should you be letting the field go to fallow, because that's the only time that the fence will do anything, is that when the fields are on fallow, aka they're not producing anything. Your fields should be producing all the time. So fencing up, if you're going to fence up your fields and use the sheep to improve the fertility, that means that the field is not producing anything and it's on fallow. And that's not an ideal setup. That being said, it is an option. I do think that the best utilization of that strategy in that case would be, I'm going to restaff the fisherman's hut. We're going to get ahead on a couple tasks here while I'm blabbing. We're also going to build a stone gatherer's camp. We're going to get all this stone taken care of here. The best utilization, in my opinion, of the fencing up to restore the fertility is if you have a map that does not have rich fertility to start with, and you are using just a small rye operation. Like I mentioned in my bread video, if you guys have watched that, the bread guide, I mentioned, about how rye is another one of those things that used to be locked behind a development point, but it's not anymore, right? So anyone can build, you can build a rye field in any playthrough in any town without having to, unlock it. It was a second tier development point. So if you have a region that does not have good fertility, there will likely be some small patches of rye. Like everything else will just be red. You're not really going to be able to farm like flax or barley or anything, but there probably will be like a couple patches of decent for rye, where you could have like a small rye operation, which will be really strong because you're going to get 4 bread per rye grain if you do it the way that I explained in the bread guide. But in that case, I think fencing up the fields and getting the sheep to restore the fertility or whatever could be very helpful, because we're not talking about, in that case we only have a limited, like there's just going to be probably a couple patches that are good for rye only, and say like you plant a rye and you do a full season of rye. You then, since you're not on a rich fertility, you're not going to have another option to turn the field over to anything else. You're only able to get decent for rye. Then you're going to need to let the field fallow, and then fencing it up and letting the sheep come and get the fertilization back to the maximum again before the next season is definitely going to be good. But in this case, I don't think it's good. In this case, we're absolutely not going to use the fencing because at no point are we going to let any of these fields return to fallow. Once they're in the rotation, they're constantly going to be growing something. You know what I mean? I feel like the way I explained that was a little confusing. Sorry, but hopefully it made sense overall. We need to get a few more houses in here too. Let's just go with that. Let's just build a bunch of houses and get ahead on that. Okay. Let's just be done with the saw pit for now. We're going to put them on the storehouse. We're going to turn on market stall. And we also want to level up our storehouse because we need more hand carts and stuff, but I want to get these other building tasks done first. Yeah, you started at low, like 30. Yeah, interesting. I mean, as far as I know, you cannot raise the fertility. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. Hey, what's up, Bath? Welcome in, dude. Good morning. Bath is here, everybody. Yeah, use the fields to their full. Yeah, for sure. Hey, what's going on? What's up, Sage? How you doing? Welcome in. Good morning. Yeah, not too familiar with the crop rotation system, so you just do it manually. Yes. Going heavy on the shield, roof tile, tool, and plank exports. Nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I also have, if you guys have watched too, I have a guide here about like economy and like what are the best items to sell for max profits and stuff. Highly recommend checking that out if you guys haven't. That's like honestly what I recommend doing for literally every single playthrough. It is just too good. And matter of fact, we'll get some charcoal going here real soon. But it's we just have a bit of a different starting priorities here since we're doing farming that it's going to take more of our labor and stuff. But, yeah, that sounds good, Al Mustin. Yeah, heck yeah, dude. That's really good. Yeah, and I assume you're talking about, like, setting the, yeah, I like to do it just manually, too, to be honest with you. I personally just manage the fields manually as well. That's my go-to as well. Okay, we got all those done. Houses are done. We're gonna get a charcoal. We're gonna think about where do we want to trade. We can probably move the wood cutting and charcoal, like wood cutting over here and charcoal, and then do a trade like on this side. Let's put charcoal over here for now. In anticipation of that. Excuse me. Yeah, let's reach out. Yeah, let's play. Yeah, I mean, once again, farming is not my specialty by any means, so, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong about that, but yeah, as far as I know, you're not really able to raise the fertility. But yeah, could be wrong. Hey, yeah, Sage, I saw you love you love streaming. Yeah, heck yeah. Can't wait for the next perk update. Yeah, right. I know. It feels like there's a lot. I mean, when we look here, it's like, I mean. There's a lot of sections in here, right? I mean, it feels like there's going to be a ton. Who knows? But, I mean, based on the amount of locked sections that they added, it sure looks like a lot, right? Oh, it's evening for you, Bath. That's right. Good evening. Good evening, my lord. If you have a region with poor fertility, check where the rye is. Right, we found. Right. Yeah, gotcha. Oh, okay. So you'll like put in a wheat into the rotation as well, as long as it's like halfway decent. Yeah. Okay. So I mean that's another depending on what the fertility setup is, then that's another really good approach too. Obviously, yeah. And yeah. By the way, guys, if you guys, I'm sure some of you guys have been here for some of the streams before, and you already know. But Baff Baff has my seal of approval. If he says anything in the chat to answer questions or whatever, if I'm not paying attention, I'm pretty confident that you can trust his word. He's extremely knowledgeable. Probably more knowledgeable than me on some things, to be honest. We're going to do trading post right over here. So we're setting up for our trade area. We're probably going to move the woodcutter over here, and we're going to put replant trees around here. Forester's Lodge, woodcutting, charcoal, trade. And we'll probably get livestock around this area, sheep, in the near future as well. Move our woodcutter over there, and then we're going to get that forester's hut here too, like I mentioned. Very good. Okay, so we will need. Right now we're thinking ahead about September's coming up, right? And that's our harvest window, or whatever you want to call it, crop window. Not just harvest, like the full farming window, basically, right? So every September we have to get through however many fields we have. We have to get through harvesting, sowing, and planting. So that's where you want to think ahead about like how much labor am I going to need based on like how much field space am I working with currently. And right now, we can build a couple more strips just to kind of plan ahead here. But right now we're mostly focused on having a large production of bread in the beginning harvest, but we're also thinking ahead about barley and flax. So we can build a couple more strips up here. I'm just going to keep using that same formula, about half Morgan size each, in as best of a kind of rectangular shape as possible. And we might not use all these necessarily. We'll just see how much labor we have available. We're just kind of mapping them out for now based on where we know that the good fertility is going to be, as we looked at in the beginning. Okay. Supplies are getting soaked. Oh, it's because they're putting away that crap. All right. Good. So we're also going to, as soon as they finish this stuff over here, we're also going to upgrade our storehouse. So we got a few things in the works here. We're going to have farming tasks coming up because September's coming up, but we also need to be like making sure that we're still setting. We still need economy. We still need trade. We still need all that other stuff. So that's where the beginning of setting up a farming town is going to be a little bit tough with the labor requirements and stuff. So we just got to make sure that we're only taking on as much as we can handle labor-wise, essentially, right? Yeah, as things stand, a wheat field with 50-50 emmer that can yield more grain than the same field. Wheat fields. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, see that I actually didn't even know that, to be honest with you. So I was just thinking about BAF. I was thinking about the the economical advantages as we've had all the discussions from the bread video about how profitable wheat can be. I was like, ooh, I definitely feel like I want to grow wheat because we can probably make a ton of money selling wheat at 5 regional wealth per bread, right? But I actually didn't even know that the wheat provides more per square foot or whatever the heck per area than rye. Interesting. Yeah, games. Oh, really? Yeah, heck yeah. Dude, the soundtrack is so good, right? It's like they hired like a full on the credits or whatever, you can see they hired like a full orchestra and choir and stuff. It's pretty amazing. We need to get this storehouse upgraded because we're full on space, and we also need those extra hand carts. We need to get that done ASAP before. Actually, I'm gonna cancel this because we just need this other stuff to get done like right now. because we are going into September here and we're going to need our labor. So, storehouse needs to be upgraded. That's coming in. We also do want to upgrade our granary too, but storehouse is our first upgrade priority. And we're going to start getting economy going too. So right now we have like a lot of things on our plate, you know. So that's why making sure that we got population growth started as soon as possible is very important for this farming setup. We need as much labor as possible. Okay, this is about to get done. That's really good. Good, 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 good. And it's about to turn over to September, so it can't be done a second too soon. So, let's take a look here, right? So we know these are all half Morgan each. So we know we have these, for sure, one family right here. Second family right here. So at least 2 families, and then anything beyond that, you know, we're gonna, you know, let's do 3, and then we'll set up 2 more fields as well. So essentially these fields need to be harvested. Then these need to be set up. So we're going to set these up for, we'll just go wheat, or let's see. Yeah, which one has the highest? So these have really high wheat percent over here. So we'll go wheat on both of these because that's high 90s. So we have wheat and wheat. So we know we have 2 Morgan right here. And then we'll do, since we have 3 families assigned, we'll do a 3rd Morgan setup as well. And while that's going on, we have other families that need to be doing other stuff too. So let's take a look. Back to firewood and charcoal. We'll start getting our charcoal under production in anticipation of getting our trade economy starting to ramp up. Okay, so we'll kind of observe here how well they do getting through these fields here. Let's do 1 flax. 1 flax and 1 barley. So we know we have a total, like I said, we assigned 3 families, so I'm going to set up for a total of 3 Morgans worth of field space. That's basically what we're going to take on right now. And I just always put the threshing priority on low. I mean, they should do the fields, make sure the field assignments like the harvesting and planting and sowing and stuff is all very time sensitive. So we want that to get done ASAP. The threshing priority I always set to low. And I pretty much just like to keep all the fields on the same like medium priority personally. You could, you know, play around with all this kind of stuff, or if you were trying to get an early harvest, for example. Like I mentioned, this is like a strategy I use from the merchant achievement. You might need to do like an early harvest right away to get some initial food supply, something like that. But otherwise, you know, I pretty much just like to leave strips of 0.5, leave them on medium, and just assign 1 family per 1 Morgan of space. That's kind of the best formula, go-to rule of thumb formula in my personal opinion. But, you know, like I said, there are many schools of thought out there. There's a lot of different data and all kinds of stuff about the farming. And a lot of it does come down to your town layout, your logistical setup, and all that, as usual as well. But even more so here with farming, I mean, it's just extremely important, extremely influential. So hopefully they will get all these tasks done here. We will see. So, like I said, I'm just kind of following that basic rule of thumb here for, oh, and we want to switch these from wheat to, we're going to switch these to 1 flax, 1 barley. So 2 wheat, 2 flax, 2 barley. That's fine. And okay, but if you upgrade during the harvest, you could lose all the grain. Yeah, that's not great. I did a bit of experimenting with the plow, like last night and over the week, kind of before the stream here, just to get a quick look at it. But I don't know. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about the ox plow right now. We can also we'll try this too. I'm not going to do it right now, but maybe in the upcoming season. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it. I did notice personally. I had a few things that I noticed, which I'll bring up, but it's kind of a I don't know. It's a toss up. It's a toss up. I will say if you're going to use the plow, the ox plow, I think it's pretty much like an absolute requirement that you build the fields like this in strips of like rectangular strips. If you have fields that are like, for example, if we made a field, I don't know, like, along this road here, so it was like kind of curved, and I don't know, for example, like if we made like a field like that or something, where it wasn't like a straight edge rectangle kind of thing, the ox plow sucks. Like the ox plow is horrible. Like it'll be way worse than just regular families working on it. If you have the fields like this, where they're in like the thin, perfectly, or not perfectly, but you know what I mean, like pretty much as straight of edges as you can get or whatever, the ox plow is pretty good. But as far as I've noticed personally, it's like definitely like the shape and size of the field matters like immensely as far as whether the ox plow is efficient or not, or even viable. It seems to not really figure out the pathing unless it's like strips like that. Personally, I just prefer to, I never really do, I find that the plow has too many like internal restrictions like that, you know what I mean? That's like, it doesn't really perform well unless unless all these little things line up for whatever reason. Personally, I just like to let them just follow the formula, like I mentioned, one family per one Morgan, and just let the regular labor do their thing and not do the ox plow. But like I said, it's definitely viable. Like I said, I do think like if you have them set up like this in the rectangular strips, for example, the plow is good. I'm just not really sure how good. Kind of up in the air still at this point. You also notice that the elevation, yes, absolutely, yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, so we can, that's another good thing to think about. So actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Sage. Thank you. When we were in the beginning here, when we were like looking at, here's the fertile areas that we want to use and all that kind of stuff, I did forget to mention, we should also check before you start setting up your town, check the elevation overlay here as well to make sure. So for example, luckily, even though we didn't check, we're not in the elevation area. If we had our farming area up here, that would be pretty detrimental. That being said, we do have access to a development point here. I believe it's the one in the bottom right. Yep. Widen hinterlanders right here. So if you're having an issue with that, I don't know, maybe you're in a region that has high elevation and that's where the rich fertility areas are, or whatever the case is, you're probably going to want to take this development perk right here in the bottom right, widen hinterlanders, and right here, efficient farming at elevation. So when you're, if you have farming on the elevation areas, the productivity, like the, yields and efficiency or whatever does, I believe, go down a little bit, right? So this kind of counteracts it. It also comes with cheaper animal imports, which is nice. I mean, that also applies to livestock backyards. Like I said, you should be importing sheep on every playthrough. They're just that good. So that's also another great perk. And then also, having backyard like pig pens or whatever is also a great idea. Oftentimes you might have a good affinity bonus from the woodland environment too. And then also you get a mining speed increase, which I know a lot of people are struggling with mining rates right now. They will be increased. They already confirmed that they're going to, increase the mining rates. But this development perk does seem like a pretty good, overall, this is a pretty good development perk to take. It does have, the one thing I don't like is that it has the negative efficiency, minus 20% efficiency on all artisan workshops. And, that would affect like your bread, bakery extensions, your, small shields production for trade, stuff like that. So, that is definitely a downside. But if you do have a region where you're in the elevation area and you're trying to do the farming and stuff, I think it's pretty much a necessity that you take that development perk at this point. What's up, Black Awakening? Yeah, never the plow thing doesn't. Yeah. Can two oxen work on one field at the same time? Can two oxen work on one field at the same time? I don't know, actually. I don't know. Yeah, here, I'm going to pin this video in the chat too. I should have done it earlier, but hopefully, if you guys have seen it, if you're new to the channel or haven't watched or whatever, highly recommend. I'm going to pin it in the chat here. Beta. Yes, so that video, I talk about a bunch of the stuff that they mentioned as far as like current issues in the beta, fixes that they've already confirmed, how you can utilize sheep and livestock in a bunch of ways, and a bunch of other really good info. But yeah, to address your comment there, Sage of Salt, deep mines are not bugged. Deep mines are not bugged. The mining rates overall are currently lower. They are getting increased. They did confirm that the mining rates overall are getting increased. However, deep mines are not bugged as far as I understand. I think a lot of people think they're bugged because the mining rates are so low in general. But the thing is, when you upgrade any mine to a deep mine, the productivity just goes down. It's always been that way. It's a trade-off. It's not. They need to update the tooltip. The tooltip's not clear enough about it. Because when you changing a mine from a regular mine to a deep mine, it's actually not really. It's not necessarily an upgrade. It's actually just it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off for lower productivity rates. In return, you're getting indefinite resources. The deep mines have always made the productivity of the mines lower. So I think a lot of people are just kind of falling into the trap of like, if they have a rich iron vein or whatever, they put a mine there and then they're like, oh, I can upgrade it right away. Why not? Because when you read the tooltip, it definitely makes it seem like that would be a good thing to do, but it's not. You definitely want to make sure that you mine the surface level materials. So like say if we had a rich, I don't think we have one in the region, but I don't know, say this was like a rich clay and it had like 1,000 resources or whatever, you'd want to mine out like 900 some of the regular surface resources, because then you're going to get the regular production rate, and then once it's like nearly out, then you upgrade it to a deep mine. That being said, like I mentioned, the mining rates are just low across the board right now. They're lower than they should. They're going to raise the mining rates in general moving forward. So even deep mines will still have a lower mining rate than the regular surface materials, but it's not going to be as bad as it is now. But even after they change that, I definitely still make sure that you follow that rule of mine the surface level materials before you change it to a deep mine. And just keep in mind that it's not an upgrade, it's a trade-off. It's you're converting the mine into a deep mine. You're not upgrading the mine. At least in the sense of, productivity rates or whatever. All right, cool. It looks like they're working through these fields here. They already got these done. We got 2 months left, right, in the window. So we're keeping an eye on their farming productivity over here. Good. So we have a couple other families coming together, coming into the town here. We got our charcoal starting to gather up, so we're going to assign one to the trading post. We're going to go fuel, export, no surplus. I don't care about that. Sell everything and purchase this charcoal trade route, and we're going to start rocking on our economy. Very good. Stone is done. We gathered all the stone that's available in the region. We're going to take off the staff there and demolish the stone cutter building. And we have more staff available now. What else? It looks like we're pretty much done with fishing for now. If we check the advanced tab, fish per pond. That's fine. I'm just going to take them off for now. You want to make sure that the fish, they still work in the same way, where you need to, like, the fish reproduce based on how many fish are in the pond. So you don't want to fish out the full pond. If we leave it about half, that should be pretty good for it to repopulate. So we have a bunch of staff now available, which will be good because we're going to need a bunch of, you know, we're going to have like bread production and stuff coming into play here. We're going to upgrade our granary while we're thinking about that. Yeah, let me see. Might be nice if they allow more oxen to a farm. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of weird. I agree. Slinky, that's an interesting point too. I agree. Like same thing at like the trading post. It's like you can only assign 2 horses at the trading post, but you can assign 4 families. Same thing at the farm. If we did the ox upgrade thing, you can assign like 8 families at the farmhouse, but you can only assign 2 oxen per farm. I know another one of the guys who watches the channel here who's super like Baff, where they're just, you know, incredibly knowledgeable. They were mentioning on the post that I had made about farming, the poll, they were mentioning that they had found that their best setup was like a similar layout with the farms like this, but they just put a ton of farmhouses and put the ox plow on every single one and just only assigned 2 families on each farmhouse, like 2 oxen and since 2 oxen is the maximum that you can assign to the farmhouse for whatever reason. He said he found it was best that he had just a bunch of farmhouses only with 2 families with 2 oxen on each farmhouse. And he, you know, he was utilizing the ox plow thing, which, you know, once again is kind of a bit up in the air, I guess, for now. But as I said, I think there's definitely a few different approaches with the farming setup that are all viable. We got a thunderstorm going on here. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Smarties. Maybe they'll maybe the ox will. Yeah, we'll fight and you'll get some meat. That's true. That's funny. Yeah, maybe your oxen. Maybe the oxens get a little territorial, huh? Maybe the oxen start to get a little territorial if you have too many of them working in the same fields at the same time, huh? And they start battling each other. Yeah, you can have 2 farms each with 4 families and 2 oxen. So 4 oxen total. Yeah, So you're a fan of the ox plowing then, Baff. Yeah. Okay. Don't upgrade rich by allowed resources. Yep. Absolutely. Slinky is right on point with that, as we kind of just talked about. That is absolutely on point, Slinky. Yeah, 100%. Have they said when the updated fixes are coming out? No, they have not, unfortunately. No. Baff's on it, dude. Baff's crushing it. Thank you, Baff. You've had your shoulders shoot the oxen? What? No way. We got roadkill and Baff's dude. Baff is a it's you don't want to be an ox in Baff's town, dude. Holy crap, man. Better watch your back. Better watch your back in that town. He's a tough lord. Iron fist kind of lord, you know? Yeah, what's up, Rabin? I feel you, dude. I know. I was pretty confident that it was going to be out by this weekend. But, you know, I do feel that it's got to be like since that Farthest Frontier full release came out. I mean, I think they've got to be having it coming soon, you know.
Don't be shy, good sirs and ladies.
Because they're going to want to compete. All right, let's see what's going on here. See, this is a little confusing, right? Am I tripping here? Because it's like, if they already have the numbers on here, that means they've already planted it, right? But, like, so why are they still on plowing? Right? Like our barley field right here. I don't know why are they... Like, it looks like the field's done, right? According to the strat, if you buy more horses than 2, they will use the extra horses. Never try to myself. Oh, yeah, Bath, that is true. Yeah, that is true. I can confirm that too. Yeah. If you for the trading post, yeah, I can confirm that that is true. Yeah. If you have a trading post and you have, like, for example, 4 families assigned to the trading post, but the trading post only officially allows you to assign 2 horses, but you have 4 horses in the town, your other 2 families, if you have 4 families, the remaining 2 families that don't technically have a horse assigned to the trading post, they will go and use horses that are the other horses that are available in the town. Yes, I can confirm that. You do like how they added the lightning? Yes, dude. I've had some crazy fires break out in the town before. It's pretty wild. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, and also wells maybe like more, kind of evenly spread out throughout the town too. Because if you have a fire in your town that's like really far away from a well, it's probably just probably not going to be able to put the fire out in time. Um, a hail of arrows took out 2 oxen in 20. No, those archers they need to get more accurate, dude. They can't be hitting the ox. That's funny. Yeah, no worries, Sean. When it comes to farms, what's the best field size? 2 members assigned. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we did cover that. So real quick, yeah, just to review that. So as you can see here, what I've got is kind of strips. Each one of these, I highly recommend. It seems to really affect their pathing and like efficiency of working the fields and stuff. You want to make sure that they're in strips of as even rectangular shape as you can make. I have all these as half Morgan sized. I believe that's a good formula. And as far as labor, a typical general rule of thumb to think about when you're thinking ahead about how much labor am I going to need for the upcoming harvest window or whatever, is going to be 1 family assigned per 1 Morgan of field space that you're going through. So for example, right now I have 3 fields that we're trying to get set up in this autumn window, and they're each 6 fields, and they're each half a Morgan each, so therefore it's 3 Morgan worth of size, and so I have 3 families assigned to the farmhouse. There's definitely some variance there based on your logistical setup and all that kind of stuff, but that's just a pretty good general rule of thumb to think about. Once again, there's definitely, I've seen some people out there who have written some guides that are like, I did like extensive testing, and I found that like 1 family per like 0.8 Morgan field size is blah blah blah, like great. That's fine too, but yeah. I find it's just 1 family per Morgan field size is fine, and if you find that you're able to make adjustments beyond that, that's totally good too. Strictly hail and bolts. Oh yeah, true. Yep, dude, those crossbowmen, they do a ton of damage too. It's crazy. Well, no, September is the harvest. They only harvest during September. I feel like these 2 guys right here are bugged out. Like this guy right here, like this lady and this guy plowing, like these fields are done. These fields right here are completely done. Unless there's a visual bug. I guess the other possibility is that there's a visual bug and this actually is not plowed. Because I mean, we can visually see that this is plowed land. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that. Anyways, we're starting to sell charcoal here. We got a couple charcoal sales just rolled in already. So we're going to put a hitching post right next to our trading post, and we're going to order a horse so we can really ramp up on our trade. We do still have some we have families available and stuff, which should be doing other things, but we're just kind of focusing on the farming aspect right now. And we want to think, what else do we need to upgrade? Oh, we need the church, that's right. So let's get the church under construction here, because we're thinking ahead about making sure we have a bakery extension, because we need a level 2 house for that. Well, let's put the church over here. Why not?
You'll not find finer wares anywhere else.
What with the percent goes down over time, i.e. the barley 80%. So okay, good question. Yeah, Sean. So the percents go down. So if we're looking at, for example, barley's at 79% or whatever. So these numbers are going to stay the same until we plant that crop. So wheat will stay. These are like the starting maximum fertility rates or numbers or whatever, and they'll stay this way until we plant them. So if we were to plant like this one right now, this field where we're planting flax, for example, it has a 91% fertility rate for flax. But after we do this upcoming harvest, after it does goes through its year of growing or whatever and all that, then it's going to go down. Then the fertility will go down. So that's where you want to have either crop rotation, where you switch it to another crop, or you fence up and use sheep to restore the fertility back to the max or whatever. Sounds good, Bath? Right, yeah, they harvest. Yeah, so harvest will only be in September. They can only harvest during September. That is specific to September, is the harvesting.
Good sirs and ladies.
And then October and November, they can do the rest. They can do plowing and sowing during October and November. But harvesting is exclusive to September. And same for like if it's like an apple orchard, same thing. So harvesting any sort of crop other than like the veggie backyard farms for like carrots and stuff like that, those are more of like a year-round thing. But harvesting for orchards and for like farm fields is exclusive to the month of September. Usually assign 10 to the farm so they sow faster and read faster. Yes. Yeah, 100%. So, like I said earlier, I think it's always better to be ahead on farming tasks. It's always better to be ahead, that's for sure. See, so it looks like they just finished this one. See, now we just saw the number pop up here for the flax. Now this one's been sown or whatever, so now we can see we have 38 flax coming in, right? I'm a little worried about these other ones in the back here. See, I'm still confused. Like, why are so many people working on these fields that are visually have been done like for a long time, right? And these other ones in the back are not getting done quite yet. And we are also kind of testing out the formula here of, like I said, because I don't want to make sure. In this case, right, like I said, we have 3 Morgan space of field, and we assigned 3 families. So we're looking a little down to the wire here. We have like 15 more days left. So we'll see. Looks like they've gotten these first 3 done. See, I really don't understand why they were still like these fields are clearly done. I don't understand why they were still working on them. I just went over here and manually changed this to high priority to make sure that they move over here, and now it is getting done. So, as we can see, I mean, it'll be a little close. As we can see, once again, I'm following that general rule of thumb formula here for 1 family per 1 Morgan size, and it's going to be pretty tight here. We probably could have done, would have been favorable for us to have maybe at least one more family assigned to here, just to make sure that we get all this done, you know what I mean? Without any fear of not quite making it. But that being said, I think I think they're just going to barely get them all done here. They're finishing up this field over here. There's just one left. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be tight. We'll see. They might not. We'll see if they finish this last one here. I mean, then in that case, they've gotten through the rule worked. You know what I mean? Very much down to the wire. Like I said, I would recommend, you do want to try to be ahead. I think it's better to be ahead on these farming tasks for sure. So we probably, like I said, I think ideally we would have assigned maybe at least one more family here in this case. You know what I mean? But it looks like they're pretty much going to get it all done. Just in time. Let's see. Yep. Look at that. Since plowing is the bottleneck, wouldn't it be better to have 2 farmhouses with 2 ox for a total? Yeah, we're just kind of talking about that a little bit. The ox plowing is a bit of a toss-up. Oh man, look at this, guys. Look at that. Wow. Look at that. Literally, on the final day, we had 3 Morgan size of field, and we assigned 3 families, and they literally just completed, like, look at that. On November 30th, they completed the task. So, there you have it. Like, 1 Morgan size per 1 family assigned. There you go. That's the results, right? So, once again, I would recommend probably, maybe assign, I think we should have had like one more family just to like really make sure, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that was good. So once this turns over into it's about to turn over into December, then they're going to come thresh the sheaves into the grain, and then we'll staff the windmill and start getting our grain ready. We just got our church up, and very soon we'll be ready to upgrade to a level 2 house, and then we will get a bakery backyard extension. That being said, forage good, vegetables, grains, fruits. So we have a decision here to make. We either need to put up a communal oven to get our initial, because we cannot upgrade a house to get the bakery backyard extension until we fulfill this requirement, right? So we have a few options, right? Like, since we don't, normally I would already have like a vegetable backyard, or we'd be harvesting berries or mushrooms or whatever. In this case, I'm thinking we're probably just going to slap down a communal oven. Where's that? Farming, communal oven. We're probably just going to slap down a communal oven, and I'm just going to put it right here next to the granary. And we'll use that for like our first little round of production here. But then after that, once we get this fulfilled and we're able to upgrade, then we're going to upgrade and switch to a bakery extension and destroy the communal oven. Because obviously we want the quadruple rate. So as we can see, now that we're in winter and they're completed with their field tasks, they are now threshing the sheaves into grain. And as we can see, they are done with that. So we can just take them off of those assignments, and we'll put at least 1 person on the windmill. And we know our communal oven is coming up, and soon we will have bread under production. And that was, once again, we're still in year 1 here. This is just our first, we just did like an initial very small harvest, just so that we have like a starting supply of bread here before we have our full, crop rotation going here. And, expand our town, more staff available, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we got going on here. Communal oven's up. Get that staffed. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's set a reserve on firewood just to make sure that they have that available for now that we have buildings that require fueling. We want to make sure that they have firewood available so that they're not using our charcoal, because we're selling charcoal. As we can see, we've been selling a decent amount of charcoal. That's already getting us a good amount of regional wealth. Very good. And we can also start making more planks again. And in anticipation of once we level up a couple houses, we can also get a joiner shop going as well to start selling the small shields, which is another fantastic economy item, as if you've seen in the guide. Let me read some of your comments here, guys. Oh yeah, sorry, you were asking about the ox plowing thing. Yeah, we'll test that out a little bit more on our own here, maybe in the next upcoming window. But I did already kind of yap about that a little bit. But basically, the pathing of the oxens can be pretty volatile. I've personally, from my own experience and just hearing, from other people talking about their experiences, on the Discord, Reddit, etc. The oxens can have pretty volatile pathing. Like I mentioned earlier, with making the strips of the farmland so that they're about like half Morgan size each, and making sure that they're like pretty, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Even edges. You know what I mean? They're not like wonky shapes and have straight lines and that kind of stuff. Seems to be absolutely paramount for using the oxen. And if you don't have the long, like, even strips of farmland like this, I would not bother with the oxen at all. It's not going to work. It's just going to be bad. If you are doing the strips of organized rectangular shapes like this with even edges, the oxens can be good. Like I mentioned, I did have another guy here on the channel similar to Baff, who's like, incredibly knowledgeable, one of my longtime viewers and stuff. He did mention on the post that I made, the poll about the farming and stuff, he mentioned that he had good success with just, like you mentioned, just a bunch of farm. Every time you have another 2 staff to put on, just another farmhouse. So only 2 staff per farmhouse, because and then 2 oxen, since you can only put 2 oxen on farmhouse. So that being said, like I said, we can experiment a little bit. Maybe we'll experiment a little bit with it in the upcoming harvest window. I personally think it's just better to just stick with just regular labor, and just kind of follow that rule of thumb. You know what I mean? 1 family per 1 Morgan size. But you can, it's just really, I don't know. It's one of those ones where kind of just need to like try it out for yourself, to be honest, and see how it works for you. But yeah, I can definitely say with confidence, if you don't have like the strips with like even sized and clean lines and stuff on the fields, the oxens are going to be like bad. They need to go through the steps. What's up, Johan? Go through the steps, plowing and so on before the field is completely done. Yeah, no, I understand all that. It's just that the fields were done. they were done. As we could see, when I switched these to high priority to manually force them over there, then they went and moved. But these fields they were done the whole time. So I don't know. That was definitely a little bit of a buggy thing. Communal ovens don't give bonus to bread production, do they? No, they do not. Yeah, that's the thing. So we're only getting 2 bread per wheat right now, or per grain. Where's I think they've already gone through it all right. So right now, like I said, this is just a temporary measure. So I think they've already gotten through all our initial little haul there. So we're going to unstaff that, and we're done with the windmill as well. But now, since we did make that initial source of bread, see, now we're able to upgrade. So we're going to upgrade a couple houses here, and then we'll have our bakery housing extension, which we will use moving forward. I'm going to upgrade 3 houses to level 2 right now. We're going to do 1 bakery and 2 joiner shops. Yes, and if you have not seen... Oh gosh, we just crashed. We crashed. Oh no. Beta, fun. Yeah, that's definitely one of the downsides of the beta right there. That's for sure. Oh, guys, I got really bad news, too. I don't have autosave on, because it gets in the way of my recordings a lot of the time, and I turn off autosave. So, we just lost all of our progress on that farming town. That sucks. That sucks. Shoot. Sorry, guys. That is definitely unfortunate. Crap. Yeah, dang it. Well, I tabbed out to get the link for this bread video that I was going to link for you guys, and then it crashed. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Oh, darn it. I mean, I have the starting region saved, but we'd have to start all over. Oh, that's such a bummer. Dang. What's up, Smoke? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Dang, that's so unfortunate. I'm sorry, guys. That's a that's a bummer. Yeah, this is what I was gonna link though, the bread guide. If you guys haven't watched the bread guide, I highly recommend you check that out. It as far as like it's crazy the bread potential. Wow, I don't know what to say, guys. What should we do? That's like really unfortunate. Oh my gosh. Oh man. That's really sad too that I have the autosave turned off. Oh my gosh. I mean, I should turn that back on, but it's just because when I do recordings, you know what I mean? Like it'll pop up and get in the way of the recording sometimes, so I have it turned off, and ooh, that's unfortunate. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, let's dang it. I don't know. Well, let's do something else, I guess, for a little bit. But I mean, we did kind of lose. I have a checkpoint here. Let's take a look at this. This is a different map. September of year 1. I was doing some experimenting here. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Huh. Really? Yours, that's crazy. Yeah, no worries, Johan. I can't believe. So yours, you had a game that crashed at the same time? What the heck? Something in the air, huh? Oh my gosh. That is a massive bummer. I mean, I guess we were at a similar spot in the other town, right? We were just at the end of the first year. I mean, I have a similar setup here. This is a, you know, it's a different town here. I was just doing some experimenting here. I guess we could continue on this one for a little bit just to keep it going. Looks like we need it. All right, where are we at though? Dang, sorry about that, guys. That is a super bummer. Crap. Yeah, this town sucks in comparison. I don't have half the stuff set up in this one. No! I was just experimenting on this one. I don't have an economy or anything. Alright, let's pick it up. Hitching post. Trading post. Charcoal. Uh-huh. Are we getting firewood? Woodcutter's Lodge. Okay, what are we doing here? What's going on with our... I don't know what's up with these fields. Oh man. Yeah, that was gonna be an epic farming town. Yeah, dang it, guys. That's a bummer. Yeah, sorry about that. Damn. Gotta remember to turn on that autosave next time if I'm not recording. That sucks. Okay, well, this one's not too far off this other save that I had. I mean, you know, it's in the end of year 1. We were at the end of year 1 in the other one, so this town wasn't quite as well set up as the other one was, but we can pick it up. So we're in September right now. I don't know what. Looks like we had already set these up for a couple things. These ones I think are. I think these ones got planted before the harvest window here, and it was like too late or whatever because I was just experimenting. So we're just gonna burn these and replant. Yes, because we need wheat for sure. There we go. Okay. Let's assign a fourth family here. Like I said, I don't really know where exactly I left off. This was just kind of a testing map that I had. Okay, so we'll get these fields. We're in the first September window here. We're just getting these fields set up. I guess I had some fields here. Looks like we were building fields and we had an overlap of flax and barley in this kind of section right here. Very similar to what we had before, so that's good. The only thing I don't like, we have the windmills like really far away from our granary over here. But I guess that's not the end of the world. We did get, just have a little bit of fish here. See, the problem is on this one, as we can see, I also did not do, like in the other one, like the map that we were just on, we did that the first early harvest, like a smaller early harvest of wheat. So we had an initial supply of bread, right? Like right now at this point at the end of the first year, we're not going to have that here. So that means we're not going to be able to upgrade any houses. And we're also going to be like pretty strapped for food. So the start here in this one is severely gimped compared to the other one, but... Has anyone had the issue forced early harvest simply not working? Farmhouse was staffed, oxen assigned already, yet nothing happened. Interesting. I've not... I've not had that issue, I guess. Although, like I said, I don't really use farming too much. It's definitely not one of my go-tos typically. But I think I do remember having some issues with that in the past. Yeah, Sean, for sure. Yeah, at least, absolutely. At least it was just Unreal Engine, Manor Lords Unreal Engine, and not my PC. Oh my gosh, that would have been horrible. All right, let's get some more houses. All right. Luckily, this save was not too far off from where we were, so that's not bad. I'm a little concerned about food. Yeah, see, since we didn't do that initial, I didn't do the initial harvest here on this setup or whatever. We are not in a good spot with food for the upcoming winter window. Looks like we already fished pretty much as we can. So we need to do something about that. That is not good. Yeah, this setup is not ideal, so... This is going to be rough. We need to get like some economy set up like immediately, basically, right? I mean, this is a little bit rough. Storehouse is not in a great spot either. We'll see. We'll see if we can make this work here. See if we can sell a bit of charcoal and then buy some grain or something to start with. Why is this staffed? Windmill should not be staffed. Okay. Yeah, the forced harvest is kind of bugged right now. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Just found out that the unmanned buildings with the maintenance slider still consume tools. Yeah, I haven't really experimented too much with the maintenance slider either, but yeah, that is another weird one. I have thought about some strategies to like kind of sidestep the tool requirements or whatever. For example, like if you build something that needs tools, but then you demolish it like before it consumes the tools or whatever, you can kind of bypass it a little bit. But it's a little like wonky of a strategy. But yeah, this thing I think they're going to change to the maintenance slider. I think is going to get adjusted. The maintenance slider adjusts how quickly upkeep resources wear out, blah, 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 blah. Right, yeah, so basically if you're investing more tools into upkeeping the building, they're going to work more productively, but who knows how accurate that is right now, to be honest. Okay, we need that charcoal to start rocking, dude. The storehouse is in a horrible location. I hate that the storehouse is like so far. I gotta repair the roofs, yeah. Starting to somehow own this new patch. Yeah, except for clothing. How do you handle the clothing consumption? I honestly, I would recommend that you just watch the video that I have pinned in the chat here. It'll answer every single question that you have about clothing and the consumption rates on the beta right now and all that kind of stuff. The pinned guide that I have here in the chat covers all of those specific topics. Definitely recommend checking that out if you have not yet. But yeah, long story short, the clothing consumption is bugged right now, so it's just going to be tough either way. All right, looks like they've got these fields set. Okay. Charcoal. All right, let's start. We gotta sell something. We need like some food source to carry us over here since this setup did not have a early harvest of bread to help us out. We also need to think ahead. Once again, we're talking about tools. We do need to think about importing. I don't think there's an iron. Whoops. I don't think there's any iron. Yeah, no iron in this region either. So we'll need to import some iron for our tools. Jeez, this town setup is not amazing. Looks like we already got. Where's stone? Did we not get the stone yet? Okay, we need the stone. Stone gather camp. Put it over here next to our storehouse. I hate this storehouse location. Honestly, I'm just gonna build another one right here. I just cannot stand that location over there. It's horrible. We're gonna build a new storehouse over here. And then I'm not going to worry about that. We're going to move the stone thing too. Once you have tool production going, you ramp everything up to max. Oh, cool. Right. Yeah, that's a good call too. Yeah, once you can like sustain the extra tool consumption, it's probably worth it for yeah, just like max everything. There we go. We sold a little bit of charcoal there. Let's just make sure we're selling that charcoal, and then we are definitely going to need something to hold us over. So let's get some rye grain. Import. We don't need to buy the trade route or anything. Once again, bread video strategy coming in clutch here. And we're going to need a communal oven for temporary. This is a bit of like a hard mode here, to be honest with this map. This is a GIMP. I was only like testing some things, so I had not set this up for success after we crashed. Because look, we only have we're down to the wire here on food. We'll bring it back. All right, so we got this better storehouse location over here, so we're gonna move them to there, destroy this. Okay. There we go. Now we should have a good charcoal production going over here. That'll help out big time. Let's get planks coming in. Okay, oven is here. So hopefully soon we'll get some grain purchased, and then we can help ourselves out with some food, since we had a interesting load into this match after crashing. So I think what we're we just kind of need to get through this December here, and we need the fish pond to replenish, and then we just need, I mean, we were really just trying, we just got to like make it to the next harvest window. You know what I mean? I know, dude, this map. It made it like a new challenge, you know? You often end up with traffic jams in your manor. Yes. Yeah, in my experience, I've experienced that since day one. A year since I got the game a year and a half ago, I've experienced issues with the retinue getting stuck coming out. It's like they're all jammed into this tiny little manor trying to get through this tiny little doorway, you know. When that happens, I just disband them and then try to re-rally them again. It's basically the only solution as far as I'm aware. Traffic jams in general will happen, especially if you ramp it up, the speed. If you ever have traffic jams in general, best rule of thumb is just reset it down to the normal speed temporarily and let the traffic jam kind of sort itself out. Like I said, if you're in the case of like you're rallying up a retinue that's getting stuck in the doorway, disband them and then re-rally them. If you have no one working on a logging camp, that camp will not use tools. Oh, okay. So we've got differing intel coming in about the tool consumption. I mean, I'm willing to bet too that it's also like not consistent either, right? Could be. Yeah, this would be a good if your town isn't successful. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, honestly, when in doubt, just do the bread strategy. I'm telling you, the bread strategy is where it's at. All right, so we did buy a few rye grain. See, we got 5 rye grain, so we'll staff up windmill. Bread strategy will save you. And then we got communal ovens. So we're gonna staff the we bought a few rye grains, so we're just gonna staff our windmill and our communal oven. Once again, I need to build a new windmill. This placement, I don't know what the heck I was thinking putting the windmill over there. Actually, I know exactly what I was thinking. It's because I used this picture for a thumbnail right here, like this angle, and I needed the windmill like over here for it to like fit in the thumbnail properly. That's why all this stuff is like horrible, is because I used this for a thumbnail. That's what it was. I remember now. And I wanted like this angle right here. I wanted like the fields and then the windmill to be like over here and stuff. Oh, that's why it's in a horrible position. All right. Yeah, we're going to need a new windmill. I still haven't picked up all those supplies. We need to upgrade our storehouse. Yeah, they were glitching on the stairs. Yeah, a lot of that pathing stuff is just like super wonky. Military unit from your second region gets stuck in your castle the first region. No! Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're yeah. They're too eager to they're all trying to they don't know how to do single file, you know. Single file did not exist back in medieval times. That wasn't a thing. They don't know. The only way to settle this tool debate is with a good old-fashioned Amish rake fight. Yeah, I mean we could try it here. How do we durability days left 260. So if we right, maintenance. So I mean, it does say that maintenance is paused, right? So that would make you think that they would not, right? That's what the maintenance is, right? Is using the tools. So maintenance paused, that would lead you to believe that they're not going to consume any tools. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if it still consumes them regardless. Just because, you know, Manor Lords things. But yeah, I mean, to Baf's point, it does say paused, right? So it should, but yeah, I would not be surprised if it's still just you like consumes them regardless. That one would take a bit of testing, I guess, to really see, huh? Any building that consumes tools, remove families and use pause at top right. That should be not put. Yeah, right. Oh, okay, right. So I mean, do we need to? Does that actually have an effect, I wonder? Because even when we took the workers off, it did automatically say maintenance status pause. So I'm not sure if you also need to go like stop work pause up here as well. So that's a bit of a mystery. I mean, it looks like it should it looks like what Bass said. It does say. I mean, it should not consume the tools. But once again, I wouldn't be surprised if it still does, regardless, right? Just because it's dumb. Are we? There we go. We're making flour, right? What are you guys waiting for, dude? Turn this freaking grain into flour. Let's go. Waiting. What are you guys waiting for? What are they waiting for? What? Am I missing something here? Line camp. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. I mean, it is nice to, because, you know, you can build more logging camps for, like, the extra storage and stuff. Dude, what is going on here? Why are they not turning this into flour? What is going on? Yeah, I talked about this. Oh, the traffic jams? Yeah. Right. Yeah, like Bath said, you could try, like, double roads and stuff. It can help alleviate some of the congestion. But really, I think just like resetting the game speed is what really helps the most. Oven fueled? Yeah, it has nothing to do with the oven. It's just, oh, there. See, look now that yeah, it has nothing to do with the oven. They just should be turning this grain into flour, which it looks like they're doing now. I don't know what they were waiting for that whole time, but there we go. Now we got some flour. Now they'll be baking some bread. Well, these guys are. Oh, they're hungry. All right. Well, you're hungry, so bake some bread. There you go. You got that unit stuck because they were archers. I want to see if Oh, yeah, they were on the ramparts, the wall ramparts. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that can be a little wonky story now. Wonderful video. Oh, yeah, thanks, Cypher. Cool, yeah, you watched the pin video. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, heck yeah. 10 have such big cities that 1,000 chiefs can't keep them. Wow, those must be some pretty big cities. Well, yeah, but, yeah, once the rates get adjusted, I'm sure you'll be in the clear. right now it's really only feasible to just kind of have like a pretty modest, a small, modest sized town of leveled up houses to be able to keep up with the demands, you know, the clothing demands because of the increased consumption rates. So we are slowly producing a little bit more rye. I mean, this is what's kind of like keeping us going right here, since unfortunately our other one crashed and we had to load into an not ideal one, but just purchasing a little bit of rye grain. I'll put another person on the storehouse. Another person on the... Yeah, I guess we don't need a second on the granary. Cool. Let's... What next? What next? Ugh, we just need to make sure we're keeping up with at least enough food that people don't starve to death here until we get into the next thing. But buying a little bit of rye grain here is what's keeping us in the game. Windmill's in a horrible location too. It'd be much better if it was like over here. I want to put it right here, but they still have not picked up these supplies over here. Like, there's still one flax sitting here that's getting in our way. I want to put the windmill right here. Yeah, you have about a third of your level 3, 125 of these. Shoes can be your problem. Yeah, the shoes. Keeping up with hides seems pretty tough, yeah. Yeah, it sucks to like have to. I mean, I couldn't live without the increased speed, you know, quality of life. But yeah, if there are the traffic jams, you kind of just need to like at least just like temporarily slow it down. You know what I mean? Just put it back to normal speed for like a few seconds. Let the traffic jams kind of clear up, and then you can put it back to max speed. You know, obviously another traffic jam is bound to happen at some point after that, but you just kind of have to keep resetting the speed for a few seconds here and there. Chat, how large a field can a single family in a farmhouse handle? Y'all should know this now. You guys know this one now. Death from starvation. No. Oh, that is such a bummer that our other game crashed. All right, we're we're baking a couple more bread here. We're pulling through. You just looked and you were at 178. Every single one level 2. Oh yeah, that's a lot of level 2 and 3 houses, Cypher. Yeah, that's going to be really tough to keep up with right now with the current. Yeah, that's a lot. Yes. So yeah, since you are severe, yeah, I mean, it's like 6 times the rate, right? So, but that being said, like if you're even like remotely close to keeping up with that right now, that means like once it gets fixed, like you're going to be keeping up with that no problem at all. You know what I mean? Three to 4 to 1 Morgan. No. One family. One family per Morgan. One family per Morgan. Unless I misunderstood the question. How does having an ox change that? Yeah, it's a bit up in the air. It really depends on the design, like the size and shape of the field. If it helps, I can hold back on level 2. Yes. Oh, 3/4. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Basically 1-to-1. I would say like basically 1-to-1, like one family per Morgan. But yeah, I think more like the most accurate, like Bath's saying, is basically like 3/4 of a family per 1 Morgan, aka like I've seen a lot of people say that, like I mentioned earlier about a lot of people have said after like extensive testing, one family per 0.8 Morgan, which is basically like this, roughly the same thing as like 3/4 family per Morgan. I would suggest just start with like one family per Morgan, see how that goes, and then adjust more or less based on that. You were too greedy because of regional wealth. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You do get good regional wealth from upgrading the housing. That's true. That's true. Right. Yes. Yeah, it's I would say like the regional wealth that you gain from leveling up houses is pretty minimal. Like, compared to the like how strong your economy can be just by following, some of the simple like the core 3 trade items that I've talked about in like the economy guide. I really don't think that like income from, leveling up the houses, the tax income from that is really that significant overall in comparison. It's pretty much a small, it'll be like a fraction of what you're going to get from trade. But it is still, of course, like, it's substantial. You know what I mean? It can add up for sure. Especially, obviously, the more houses you have. Yeah. Yeah. TaxCat mentioned one family can work. Three. That family. They have to replan. Right. True. Yeah, the veggie. That's true. Yeah, like the veggie backyard gardens now, they have to be like re sowed and full, like the full process, like every season. Yeah. You wish economy numbers were more easily available. Processing times, efficiency numbers, the charts in game are really good. Yeah, I mean, I think you can get, like you mentioned, obviously, you can go to the records tab, but you can also, like, for example, as far as, like, if process, like, efficiency numbers and stuff like that, you can go to any specific work building, like, I don't know, we can click on the soffit, for example, and then if we go to the people tab, then it'll show us, like, what's their productivity looking like. And then also on the general tab, if we hover over the yield, it'll show us like how much planks has this specific building produced in the last 30 days, for example, right? I mean, there is a decent amount of like information that we can get here. And then of course from the records tab as well. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice if there was a bit more. So I guess what you're more asking is like just to know like what's the best, like a chart that just tells you like what food produces at what rates and everything. I mean, that would kind of make it too easy, right? I feel I do have some guides, like I do have a food tier list guide where I mean I spent like many hours on testing every single food production type in the game and like recording, and this was before they had any of these charts or anything that just told you this information. That was like extremely tedious. So I mean, I don't know, you can check that out I guess if you want, but I mean typically I think it just kind of more with experience, you just kind of start to realize which food options are best and stuff like that. But yeah, you want a spreadsheet. Yeah, I gotcha. Spread just here's what you do. Well, I mean, follow some guides. Like I mean, I think there's probably a guide out there for a lot of something like that. I don't know. I know, I'm not bothered, dude. Forget those guys who died. I know, sorry guys. Yeah, if you missed earlier, I had a way better town going, and then we had a crash. We got one of those really fun beta Manor Lords Unreal Engine crashes, and I do not have autosave on for recording purposes because it gets in the way. So we had to, I loaded into another town that I had here, which was really just meant for testing, and I did not, this town was not set up well at all. So we had to, we're struggling to make it right now, since we crashed on the other one. The other town was set up so well, it was really a bummer. That town was coming along, like, perfectly. But yeah, I'm not bothered, you know, let them die, that's fine, dude. We can afford a couple of villagers, you know? They're expendable. As long as we, as the Lord, don't die, that's what's most important, right? As long as there's food for me, the Lord, then we're good. Peasants, low priority. Alright, we do need to think ahead about... I know we're talking about the tools, so we do need to think ahead about that. Like, we're getting in the second year here, we're going to need, you know, tools for our labor or maintenance requirements. We do need this pond to repopulate so we can get fish coming into, but yeah, we're kind of just stumbling to get this town set up how it should be since we crashed on our other one. What is the reason behind making fields a half Morgan and not 1 Morgan size, for example? Honestly, I think that wouldn't make too much of a difference as long as you keep the same shape. As long as you keep the strips of, like, you know, clean edges, straight edges, and, you know, a nice rectangular shape, I think that's fine if you do full Morgan size versus half Morgan size. I do find that it's better to work with the half Morgan size more for just, like, land, like space and land, and, you know, making sure that you're kind of placing them on spaces that have the, you know, the biggest, like the most patch of green, dark green or whatever kind of thing. I think that's more of just kind of a preference, if anything. I think what's more important is the shape, more than the actual size. But I would not go higher than 1 Morgan though. I think a field 1 Morgan size is probably the biggest that you should go. Yeah, a little starvation never hurt anyone. You know, they gotta struggle a little bit here. You know, come on, we can't make it too easy for these peasants. All right. So we're thinking ahead about some iron stuff or tools, right? So let's get a bloomery. Let's just put a bloomery and a smithy over here. What are we missing? Oh, see, I forgot about the stone too. Been yapping and getting distracted with a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, we need to gather the stone, so we'll put a stone. And we're thinking ahead about just making some tools here, and we're pretty much just kind of trying to get leveled out here on this town setup with because this town setup was horrible after we crashed. I did not mean for this to be a full playthrough. This is just a testing map, but we're recovering. Yes, that is true too, like Baf said, as far as like yeah, like it is really hard to like get specific detailed information for like to just say like, you know, this building produces this amount of exact resources, you know, every month or whatever. Because like Baf said, I mean, in Manor Lords, there is just so many variables, right? Like, there's really no way to say, like, if you put the stonecutter camp here, or here, or here, or here, or wherever, right? If the stone was, like, over here, or over here, and if there was, like, pathways, you know, there's just, like, a million variables that mostly revolving around the logistical efficiency of like transport time in the town. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's just so many variables, and also like especially as you start to level up your houses, you know, your peasants they can be in the middle of a job, and every so often they'll just be like, oh, I'm gonna leave my job to go get water from the water well and take it back to my house, and then I'm gonna go to the storehouse and get firewood and take back to the house again, and then I'm going to go to the church and pray for a while, and then I'm going to go to the brewery or the tavern or whatever and drink some ale. And then I'll think about going back to my job after that, or maybe I want to go refill water again at my house after that. You know what I mean? It's like the peasants just kind of start to. I feel even the more you, especially as you get to level 2 and 3, and they want ale, they all that other stuff. It's like they that cuts into their working time as well quite a bit, and so a lot is very dependent on like. How far away is your church from the rest of your residential area? How far away is the tavern? How close is there firewood available? How close is there water available? How close is the marketplace? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So there's like a million different factors involved that will impact productivity at any job or any task or anything in this game, yeah. I guess we'll put a corpse pit out here for our fallen, starving folk. Okay. What are we doing? We're importing a little bit of iron, right? Did we set that already? Yeah, import iron. So we're thinking about tools. Let's put someone on this corpse pit so they can bury those people who died. Sucks to be them. Alright, we're selling charcoal. We're just still making little bits of bread just to keep up with this scuffed setup here. I think we're good on planks for now. We do need church, and we somehow don't have... I never even built a water well on this map for whatever reason, so let's do a water well. And church. All those things that we were just talking about, basically. I have no idea why there is a forager. Why did I build a forager hut here? There's obviously nothing to harvest anywhere remotely close. Like I said, I think I used this town for a tooltip, so I just like built random things to make it, make it work for the screenshot. And we're gonna put the church like right over here. Let's see. The fact that people are individually handled, so I have to move around. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's part of what makes it really fun, right? Is yeah, totally. Is all those variables and all those different factors. Yeah, absolutely. Also wonder with the rye trade to bread, how densely populated can you get the map? What do you mean plains? Like how far can you stretch the bread? You mean like how much houses can that cover, kind of thing? Fasting is really yeah, that's right. Yeah, another death from starvation never hurt anyone because we're fasting right now. We're doing a little bit of right here in the oh my gosh, what a name. What is this name? Tannin Wegholes? In Tannin Wegholes, we're the townsfolk here are really progressive, and they're like experimenting with fasting. Some of them fasted a little too much, but that's okay. I always wonder, how did the game calculate fertility of fields? When they reach different colors. Oh, I guess, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it just takes, like, the average of... I assume they have, like, an internal value, you know what I mean? Each, like, cell of land has, like, an internal value or something. And it just takes the average of whatever space that you draw on, or the place the field on, right? Yeah, cool. Yeah, no worries, Johan. They want to... No, we put them in the corpse pit. We didn't even, like... Those guys who died from starvation, they didn't even get the honor of being buried at the church, dude. They're just straight to the corpse pit. We didn't have the church ready yet. You know, it is what it is. I'm sorry, guys. You're just gonna have to go to the corpse pit. You'll be remembered fondly. We'll build a road out to the corpse pit. There you go. If anyone wants to go, honor the fallen, just head on out to the corpse pit. And then, anyone who dies from now on, you can go to the church. But we'll never forget our original fallen in the corpse pit. Never forget. All right. Good. All right, we're slowly recovering here. So let's get... I want to move this windmill. Yes, right here. Perfect. I hate this. This is stupid. That's way too far away. So now we're getting things more condensed. We have our storage, granary, farmhouse, fields, trade. All this stuff is more efficiently compact. Very good. Bloomery is up. We're going to get also our smithy because we're thinking ahead about our maintenance tools requirements as we're in the second year here. We know that we're going to need more. And we can, yeah, I think we're good. Keep going on that. We're just waiting for this pond to regrow to full, and then we'll get some more fish coming in too. I mean, we could just do like some emergency fishing real quick here to help out, but yeah. Luckily, our trade is doing good. It's just charcoal is the way, guys. I mean, see, like the charcoal has saved our life. Like, we came into this map and it was like, yo, this is scuffed. What do? Set up charcoal right away. That's what you do. Charcoal will save the day. Two oxen. Oh, I guess we already have a hitching post right here. Ready for the horse, right? Yeah, okay. So we're going to order a horse. Ramp up our trade. And as soon as this windmill's done, we're going to move these guys to the other windmill and destroy this one because the location is horrible. I feel like trading in rye and turning it into bread is one of the most space-efficient methods for food. Let's move these guys. Oh. I thought that was done. Did that actually reassign them even though the building wasn't done? Oh, wow, it did. Yeah, trading in rye and turning it into bread is one of the most space-efficient methods of food. Yeah, 100%. That, in theory, allows you to push a lot of dense burgers plus. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It could be a graphics credit. Yeah, true. Yeah, dude, if you guys haven't watched the bread guide, that is the most, by far, the most powerful food production strategy, similar to what Plane's talking about. Yeah, it's cracked. So definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't. It's insane. You'll never struggle with food or anything like that, even economy, anything. Okay, we got a few iron. We'll start turning that into bars so we can get tools ready. Okay, we got a little bit of fishing coming in, so we should be leveling out here now, hopefully moving forward. I think we got a lot of the crises taken care of here. We lost some people along the way, but oh, we need another person needs to be buried. They can go to the church now. All right, let's see. Collected. Let's watch this. Well, they died in their house, dude. Oh, no. Here it is. Rest in pepperonis. Rest in peps, dude. They didn't make it. But it's okay. They're going to be honored at the church. They don't have to go to the corpse pit. Oh boy. You've never seen them carry a corpse out of the house before? Dude. They're over, look, now there they go, they're digging the graves. Sorry, lads. Rest in pepperonis. There they are. Yeah, he's there. Oh, see, look at that, dude. Look at that. Look at, wow. Man, the details in this game are crazy. Look, this dude's actually here paying respects, dude. Look at that. Yo, we gotta join him. Dude, look at, he was even doing the, did you see that? He was even doing, like, the cross thing. Yeah, look, the lady. Dude, that's crazy. I don't remember seeing that before. Now, these guys legitimately come pay their respects. Yo, I'm sorry for your loss, bro. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna do better as the Lord, okay? Moving forward. We're not gonna have any more deaths from starvation, alright? Oh, man. All right. We are finally leveling out at last, at long last. Okay. That's why I haven't been building any more houses either, because we just we need to level out our situation here. I know, Bath. we need to expand the graveyard. No, it's okay. We're on the rise now. Don't worry. September is right around the corner. We got some fish coming in. We're still buying a little bit of rye bread. We're all good. And then once we harvest this, then we're going to be really good. And matter of fact, here we go. So right here, we have the opportunity to level up. We're going to... Yeah, this one's fine. We're going to level up this house, and we're going to have that become a bakery extension. That way we are producing 4 bread per grain instead of 2 bread per grain. So our upcoming harvest here looks like we're going to get, what, 70 wheats or something like that. So we should be able to make, over 200 bread, essentially, right? So that'll be a good supply. And then, moving forward, as we have more and more, we can start selling it as well and make good profits from selling the wheat bread, which is a major trade item. And I believe it sells for 5 regional wealth each, right? Which is very profitable. Rye bread sells for 3 regional wealth each, so it's a big increase. All right, so these guys are going to become a bakery, but we're not quite ready. We would just want to make sure that we just do that like right before the harvest season, because there's no point for them to be a bakery until that, I guess. Well, I mean, we are purchasing rye, so you know what? We'll go ahead and do it right now. So we're going to unstaff the communal oven, destroy that, and we'll upgrade our bakery. Very good. We also have clay here too, obviously. We could start selling clay at the trading post too. It's a rich clay deposit, so that's a pretty good thing for us to be selling if we have extra labor available. That being said, we're probably not going to have much labor available here pretty soon because we have a harvest autumn window coming up, but... Clay is another great resource to sell. The raw clay sells well. Don't worry, guys. Food is coming. Alright, looks like they got a little bit of fish. It's down to 80 again, so We got a little bit of fish in. Stone's almost done, so we'll be done with staffing the stone cutter here in just a sec as well. How are we looking on tools? Tools are getting low, but we have a little bit of iron ready, so we can make a few tools. Let's go ahead and do that. We're leveling out here, though. See, we made it work. We made it work. We had some losses, but I mean, at least if anything, hopefully, maybe guys can see how, you know, what to do if you, right? If you're in a tough spot in your town, how to recover a little bit. Basically, like I said, just use the bread. The bread strategy is the absolute go-to for like if you're struggling with, you know, you're running low on food or whatever. Like just purchasing rye grain, a little bit of rye grain, whatever you can afford. And ideally, if you can turn that in, if you have a bakery extension, you can quadruple that. That'll really help you out. There we go. Now our bakery is up, and we want to make sure that they're set to wheat bread because we're not doing rye right now. We're doing wheat. Or actually, we have rye. We are doing rye currently. That's right, because we are importing the little bit of rye. But once we harvest here, we're going to switch to wheat. Let them eat cake. So we're just slowly starting to mine some clay that we can use for. Actually, we'll go heavy on this. We're just gonna go heavy on that until we get into autumn, and then we're gonna use that labor force for farming. I just deleted the stone because we're done gathering stone. No more stone. We'll just work on this stuff until we hit autumn here very soon. And then we're going to go big on farming tasks. But we can probably afford to fit some more fields in here now because we have more labor available, you know. So let's take a look here. We want to make sure that we're utilizing the flax and the barley in particular. It looks like there's a strong barley area right here, right? So that is pretty good. So maybe what I'm thinking is, just kind of make like a straight cutout right here. And I believe we should be able to fit probably 2 strips right here. Yep, that's a half Morgan. A little more than a half Morgan, but I don't know, it's not going to be perfect, I guess, but I think those will be good to utilize for barley because we have high fertility on barley here. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields at roughly half Morgan each, right? So that's 3.5 Morgan size. So we're going to make sure we have at least 4 families staffed on the farmhouse, but we have even more available, so let's do even more fields. Let's just get some more wheat. A couple more strips here. Half Morgan. Half Morgan. Cool. That's not too bad. So that puts us up to 4.5 Morgan space. So at least 5 families will need to be assigned here. We're probably just going to assign as many as we can, though. Once we're about to be hitting that here very soon. I'm going to speed up here just a sec so we get into that. But we kind of leveled out here finally, as we can see. Now, especially that we have the actual bakery extension making the rye. We're getting quadruple per grain. Now we're leveling out much better on that, and obviously we're about to get full harvest here too, so we're going to be looking just fine. Our economy, we got our economy set up here quickly, as you can see. It's just selling the charcoal is absolutely massive. Charcoal is goated, guys. I mean, I feel like I've been harping on this since day one of Manor Lords. It's insane how good charcoal is. ridiculously good for economy. All right, we're done making tools for now. We can put these guys back to the bloomery because we have a bit more raw iron that we brought in. But we made a few tools there. We made what? Oh, we made more than one tool. How many tools did we make? Yeah, see, so we produced 5 tools with the iron that we imported so far, and so that's, you know, we're just staying ahead on that. Which they included the units for the material levels. 4 apples is not just 4 apples. Oh yeah, like bushels. Right. Yeah, like 2 ounces of apples or whatever. Yeah, right. They're simple folk. 1 apple enough is more than enough for them, right? My gosh. The food, yeah, I gotcha. Right. Just out of curiosity, what does it take for a town to be military focused? That's a pretty good question. I would say definitely having an iron node, first of all. A rich iron node is probably pretty much essential for if you're going to have a military focused town, because you're going to probably, you know, you're going to need to produce a lot of weapons and armor. Crossbows as well, for example, also take iron. So I think having a rich iron node is pretty much necessary for a military focused town first and foremost. And then after that, it looks like we're doing, look, all these houses are ready to level up here, and we're doing much better on our food and stuff, so we can, I'm going to build a few more houses here so we have population growth moving forward. But after that, I would say it's really it's also economy big time too, right? Because hiring mercenary companies is also really good for you know, for military, right? So I'd say a combination of very strong economy to be able to hire as many mercenary companies as you need, and also having an iron node, ideally a rich iron node, that you can produce a lot of weapons and armor. And yeah, I guess other than that, just kind of like, honestly, like just in general, having like a really large town, because you just need a lot of people if you want to have like multiple full companies of militias, you know what I mean? So lots of iron production for military, you know, like weapons and armor, large economy for hiring mercenaries, and a large town for having a lot of just villagers that can be militias. Yes. Oh yeah, there's a couple of perks too. Yes. We'll look at those in a sec here. We're about to get to a harvest window. But yeah, I know, like, for example, you could definitely go into like one of the ones that increases like the mining rates, for example, to help out with like iron, you know, keeping up with the iron. Or like, I think there are some that affect like your military units or whatever in combat. So we can look at those here in a sec too. Okay, harvest window is coming up, so we're going to see what happens here. Let's make sure we get a good harvest window. I mean, it does look nice, right? I mean, there's something that just, I mean, right? Like, there's just something about this that you just can't replicate, like, the aesthetic charm of having, like, a full farming setup, right? Like, I don't know, dude. That's just, like, that's, like, peak medieval aesthetics right here, right? Like, having a nice farming setup is just very pleasing aesthetically, right? I mean, those nice fields of flax and everything, it just looks really good. Hard to replicate that otherwise. Your town is at 48 families and you're exhausted your rich iron deposit, unfortunately. Ooh, okay. Well, you can turn it into a deep mine for indefinite, but it'll have lower production rates. Yeah, I mean, at that point, once you've exhausted the mine, I mean, you might just need to like. That's where I come back to like having a very strong economy, right? And you might just need to like make sure you're importing. You're either investing in importing iron to produce those weapons and armor or whatever, or you're just investing in having like a really strong economy to tax for strong treasury to make sure that you have a lot of mercenary companies. Either way, or both, right? But yeah, the iron is definitely kind of a that's probably the what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like the roadblock or whatever. You know what I mean? That's going to be like the limiting factor as far as like what you're able to do within your own means. All right, so we are at August 31st here. We're about to hit September, so we're going to staff up. Right, like I said, we're going to. We temporarily had them mining a bunch of clay, but we don't care about that for now. So at least 5 families, like I said, because we have 4.5 Morgan space of fields that we want to work through here. So at least 5 families, but we have a couple extra available, so I'm just going to go up to 7. And I'm just taking a look here. I'm constantly, what I have going on here is I just have one family that I'm moving between the bloomery and the smithy because we're just importing small amounts of iron ore. So like, for example, I can see here, we had moved them back to the bloomery. They've already smelted that iron ore into the slabs. So now I'm going to move them back to the smithy and then they'll turn those into more tools. So we have a small, a small tool production going here, which will just be enough to keep up with our maintenance requirements. But let's see what's going on here. They should be able to work through these fields no problem. We have more than enough people assigned. Let's go ahead and take a look at. We're going to want to change these fields, right? So regarding, I know people have been asking about like what happens with the fertility, for example, right? So this field right here, we just harvested wheat. So it was at like 80 or 90% fertility before, something like that. Now it's down to 50% because we just used the field for wheat. So now we're going to want to change it to something else. So it looks like flax has the highest fertility otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and do flax. So we're going to turn this field over to flax. Same thing here. We finished wheat. So let's turn this to flax. And now over here, we finished, they're finishing up gathering flax. And so we'll turn that to something else. So we have 2 fields that are getting harvested for flax. Once they finish that, then we're going to turn this into something else. Either barley or wheat. So they finished this one, so we'll turn this one. We have a high wheat percentage. We'll go wheat over here. So that one's good. And we have our last flax field over here, which they are finishing this little patch of harvest. And then we'll turn this one over. We'll do wheat here as well, because we know we have a couple really strong barley ones over here. This one barley got turned over, so we'll turn this one over as well. Let's just do some more flax, and it makes it easy with the tab so we can kind of visually see here real quick. We got a couple barley, we got a few flax, and we got a bunch of wheat going. That looks good. I like that spread right there. And this is where I come back to like having, keep in mind, like when I mentioned like the rule of thumb where like, you can have 1 family per 1 Morgan size is a good rule of thumb. But it is better to be ahead at all times. And this is one of the main reasons that I feel like it's way better to be ahead on the labor, because right here we can see we are losing stocks because of the weather. So you're bound to get rain during autumn, right? So when they harvest and this is another reason why maybe to kind of come back to when there was another question about like making the fields like a half a Morgan size versus a full Morgan size. Half Morgan size could also potentially be a little better here for them getting through like all the supplies stored and everything within the timeline too. Basically, we're fighting against weather here. When they harvest the crops, they're sitting out on the field for a little bit until they get stored safely, right? So this is where I come back to saying like being ahead on the farming tasks is definitely good. Like labor-wise, being ahead is always better. Always better. So I definitely encourage you to like kind of test out on your own a little bit, you know, like what, and a lot of it, of course, is going to come down to like what labor do you have available in the first place. But for example, like I said, right here, we know we have 4.5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they're all about half Morgan size each. So that means we have about 4.5 Morgan size, which means we probably want about 4 to 5 families, following that rule of thumb. But I went ahead and staffed 7 because we had the labor available, and we just want to make sure that we're ahead on those tasks, making sure we're getting as much stored before it's getting exposed to the weather, making sure we're getting everything done. Woodwright Journeyman. Yeah, I have looked into that one. When they're full. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to look at that one right now after we finish this too, yeah. I was actually looking at that bonus earlier too, Bath, for... I feel like that one is also just like a good go-to, like the one that you're mentioning, Woodwright Journeyman. We'll take a look at it here in a sec. But I think that might be like one of my just kind of preferred go-to development points moving forward, like farming or no farming, because it's what I forget. We'll look at it here in a sec. I had a reason. I forget what it is now, but we'll look at it in a sec. You can see them expanding the amount of units you have once the maps get better. Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess we'll see on that, huh? Yeah, that is also true, like Bath said. I know there's a limit on militia companies, right? But there is no limit on, like, if you have every region that you take, as long as if you build a manor and then the garrison tower, you can have a full 24 retinue in every single... There's no limit on the amount of retinues that you can have. But the limitation is just how many regions do you own that have a manor built in it, right? So this is looking pretty good so far. We barely got through the first... I mean, they harvested everything, no problem at all. We've got a bunch of... Look at that. We've got a strong supply of flax, barley, and wheat already ready for us to be using here pretty soon. Once again, going back to our little iron tool operation here, I can see that he's once again worked through the slabs, and now we have ore again, so we're just going to move him back to the bloomery because he made more tools, so we're just keeping a slow production of tools going there with one family, moving them back and forth between the bloomery and the smithy. But yeah, this is looking really good. We're, barely in October here. I think they're going to easily get all this stuff done. We could probably even make even more fields if we wanted to. Yeah, that development perk is really good. Oh, I remember what it was. So that development point that you're talking about, the Woodwright Journeyman, I think that one is going to be a go-to, to be honest, for like most playthroughs, in my opinion, because it also gives increased production efficiency to the joiner shops for making your small shields for your economy. So you can just, you know what I mean? Like, you can crank out the small shields, and that's your most profitable item. That's like the most profitable item in the game right now. So I think that Woodwright Journeyman perk is going to be really good in general, like for any playthrough, even if you're not doing farming. We'll take a look at it here in a sec once this farming stuff finishes up. But yeah, I think I remember that it does increase the joiner shop productivity, right? Yeah, I've seen people using mod. That's true. You could put a mod. Yeah, personally, I've never used any mods for Manor Lords, but yeah, I think you could put a mod that like allows you to have more militia companies or whatever. But yeah, I don't think mods work on the beta at all, as far as I know. But once again, I've never used any mods. Yeah, joiners and bowyers. Yes, that's right. Yeah, even better, right? So you get perfect. So your joiners do more productivity. So that the most profitable item, small shields, you get more productivity with that from your joiner shops. And then bowyers, I mean, I guess that's kind of a situational, it depends on if you're doing a military town, that's fantastic. Bows are also not too bad to sell. I mean, the thing with bows is just regular war bows. It's just a plank, one plank to make a war bow, right? I think that's like by far the easiest like militia for you to make, right? So it's never a bad idea, in my opinion, to just make war bows for you to have like an archer militia, and then just sell the excess. It's never a bad idea, but yeah, it's not as profitable as the shields though. That's the thing. The small shields are just the goat for that. Oh, there are some mods that work on this version? Gotcha. One that gives you all 9 cards in one go? Holy crap, dude. I guess that's one way to play, huh? Just go God mode. Manor Lords God mode. This is looking good, though, guys. We're, yeah, I think they got all this chunk here, and they're nearly done with these. I mean, we're not even in November. I mean, we're definitely going to have more. We could put more fields. And our food is completely leveled out. Now that we have the bakery extension cranking out the quadruple bread rates, and we've just slowly been buying a little bits of grain. We had that little, we had a slump there that we had to get through, but I mean, look at now, we're totally good to go. Economy's strong. Food is strong and about to get much stronger. Things are looking good. Once again, we can see our iron guy has made more of the slabs. Put him back to the smithy. Make more tools. Alright, so it looks like, look, these guys are done now. So they finished all these fields. So they're coming back to the farmhouse now because they're done with all the fields. So we could add even more fields. So these are all done now. We got through all those once again. We have 7 people assigned. That is about 4.5 Morgan size worth of field space that they just worked through. And we are November 1st. We just hit November 1st. So we have basically one more full month. So we could definitely put, like, let's just put another one. There we go. There we go. They're going to march out there. There they go. It is funny watching the people tab with all the like lines and stuff. You just see all the hordes of people moving around. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good perspective, right? On as far as like we were talking about how many families per Morgan size and expected, rates from all this kind of stuff. We can see all that information here. So hopefully this will help you guys out a little bit. Once again, I'm sorry that we had that. I feel bad that we had that. Obviously, it's out of my control that we crashed, but I feel bad that I forgot that I had the autosave thing off, so we completely lost. We lost like we were like 2 hours in or so on that other playthrough, right? So, but hopefully this has still been, at least a little bit helpful for you guys to see, even on this other town that was a bit more scuffed. But yeah, that's looking good. I don't think we'll make any more after this. That'll be fine. This way there's 5 Morgan of field here now. 5 Morgan space. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as wheat, 3 as flax, and 2 as barley. And we already have some barley and flax to start with already. So, I mean, we can already start producing clothing. I already have a weaver's shop built right here. So, like, we'll staff up that weaver's shop. So we'll start making linen from the flax. And then we can upgrade another house to level 2. Let's just do this one, for example. And then we can turn this into a tailor shop. And then we'll go ahead and start creating clothing from the flax that we're turning into linen. Now, the problem with the farming using the flax for clothing instead of yarn from the sheep is that, like, the yarn from the sheep is just a consistent passive, like, you just consistently passively get more wool, more yarn if you have sheep, right? Flax is like, you're going to get big harvests of it all at once, right? And so, for example, like, if we burn through all this flax and then say we've created all the clothing and then all that clothing gets consumed, and then there's still like 6 months until the next harvest or whatever, that means we don't have, you know what I mean? That means we don't have clothing until then. So I still do think that, like, you know, just doing the livestock with the yarn is better overall. Still, just also for trade with the yarn, and then also for making the clothes out of yarn. But that being said, of course, this is one of the benefits of doing farming, is that you do also, you know, you're not just making food, you're also making clothing and ale. It's just that, you know, I do think that comparatively, like, the setup with using the sheep is just still superior. But we can get a little perspective on that here as we staff up the weaver's shop. All right, so they've gone ahead and threshed up all that grain that we had, right? They're done with that. So we're done with the farmhouse. Windmill's rocking. Bakery's rocking. Everything's rocking right now. So let's go ahead and upgrade our granary, because we need more hand carts for all these stuff going on, moving the grain and the flour and the bread all over the place. Once again, looks like he's worked through our iron slabs. Just progressively making tools. Let's see, what are you guys saying? There are 3 or 4 oh yeah, got that one. When I start a game on challenging, first level 2 plot is Bowyer. Right. Right, yeah. For the bandit camp, yeah. So, you know, that's kind of a weird one, right? Like, I've noticed that too, where sometimes, like, the Baron will just, like, leave a bandit camp, like, after they cleared it out, but he didn't take the, like, treasury routes. That feels like a bug, right? But I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, and then when you get crossbows going, you just sell the warbows. Yeah, that's perfect. I know, he was sad that we had to crash and people had to die. I know. It was a sacrifice that had to be made due to the... We had to make a sacrifice to the Manor Lords Unreal Engine bugs gods. Alright, but now our bread... We're going to start producing bread, like, through the freaking roof here. Like, this is gonna go crazy now. Alright, we'll start, we'll just get back to mining clay. We're done with, you know... That's also the kind of the interesting double-edged sword with the farming task, too, is, like... You know, you have like, a large group of labor that just kind of moves around seasonally. Which is... I feel like is... kind of good too, you know, because you can do, you know, like right now we're just go heavy on like mining tasks, for example, during the winter or whatever, that we don't have any farming thing going on. You can really like load up on other tasks during the seasonal, because, you know, farming is really only needs to be worked for 3 months out of the year, right? So yeah, so we'll load up on mining clay, and we'll sell clay. Where's... Yeah, clay, export. We're just going to sell the raw clay. Once again, if you guys have watched the economy video, talk about how good raw clay is. Definitely pretty good to just sell that raw. Yeah, and we got linen. See, there's the linen coming in. We did upgrade that level 2 house. We're going to go ahead and go tailor's shop, and we'll start producing clothing. Bread is going to start exploding. We're going to have so much bread that we're not going to know what to do with it. We're just going to start selling bread, as a matter of fact, because we're going to have so much. And like I said, we're also got clothing under production, and we do have some barley lying around too if we wanted to start producing. Let's get like a malt house and a tavern. Let's just think about where could we put the tavern. Tavern right next to the church? That makes sense, right? Pay your respects and then go have a beer? Alright, tavern right next to the church, and then malt house right next to that. Somewhere. Wherever we can fit it best. I mean, I guess right here is not too bad. Well, so we'll have a brewery extension somewhere over here, right? A lot of the good spots are kind of taken, but it's not the end of the world. Can't really squeeze it in anywhere ideal. We'll just put it right here. It's not a big deal. So we're getting ready to produce some ale now, too. You have a game going now where there are 2 bandit camps. The Baron's men didn't even come to fight. What the heck? So you just got the influence. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the bandit camps are a little bit wonky. Like, you can... I mean, obviously, as... I know you know, and I think... Yeah, we talked about the cheese strat or whatever, right? You can definitely... You know, you can use the bandit camps to, like... I don't know. It doesn't really feel like you should be able to do that, right? You know what I'm talking about, Bath, the cheese strat. Or if you guys watched the last live stream last week, or one of the live streams last week we did, or if you've seen like my speed run videos or anything like that. But yeah, that cheese strat with the bandit camps is a little questionable. Why? See, now why do we still have a? Why are people still like? Why do we still have like a hungry notification? Right? No one's hungry now, dude. We got look how much bread we got. You can stuff your face with bread. Yeah, I noticed in one of the vids I had 3 camps untouched at one time. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I don't know. I just feel like I said, I kind of feel like it's almost like cheating, to be honest. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just leave them there as more of like just a challenge that like raiders are on the map and they steal supplies from you, and I just don't go because I feel like it's just so like when you go take the bandit camps, it's so rewarding. Like the amount of treasury that you get from them is bonkers. Yeah, when the raiders come on, buy a cheap mercenary unit, put them in region. Where the raiders... Oh, really? What? Oh my goodness. I did not know that one, Bath. That's... Okay, no, that's like... That's too much. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, now that's... Woo! Create new camps that you can just get a bunch of influence or treasury from or whatever? That's bonkers, dude. I'm gonna start with this malt house, start making some of this barley into malt, and then we'll get ready to make some beer. So we can upgrade a house for a brewery as well. Upgrade another house, get ready for a brewery. Nice. I mean, we see this town's looking good now, right? We got it going. We got everything set up now. That was definitely rough when we had to transition back from the other map, but I think we got things leveled out here. At this point, we're just making so much food. I mean, we can even go now and go food, wheat bread, trade route, exporter, and just keep a surplus of I don't know, like 60 bread in the town or whatever. And this sells for 5 regional wealth each. So, I mean, this is going to be big. We're going to be making a bunch of profit off of selling this bread, too. What's up, Cavorning? Just captured a second area on one of the maps, and you're doing the same thing. Oh, nice. You doing a farming town? Nice, dude. That's what's up. Yeah, if you get a region with good fertility, you might as well take advantage, right? Honestly, I do feel like, so to that point, like I know I've kind of mentioned like I hate to be like discouraging against like farming, but objectively I think there are like just way better options out there as far as like bang for your buck, financially and labor wise and all that kind of stuff. But I do feel like having fertility in your, like as you expand and you're expanding into a second region, I feel like fertility is like amazing to have in your second region, because then you could. I feel like that's a really good way to just like make a ton of barley or whatever, and just like really help your main town sustain. With all the requirements. I think it's a bit, in my opinion, fertility is tougher for your starting resource. I know, for example, like Baff. I know we've exchanged ideas about that. I know, like Baff, for example, he definitely I think he recommends like having a fertility on the start, you know, even for like beginners and stuff, which is really like I've explained. I think it's really good for you know, you get a lot out of farming. I just feel like it's really tasking, you know, it's really labor intensive. It's like a completely different like approach and strategy than most of the other ways, which in my opinion are much more efficient, you know, labor wise, cost wise, everything. But you know, there's pros and cons to every setup. So hopefully, so I know this was a bit scuffed with since we crashed on the last one, but hopefully this guys can help you guys out with a little bit of, you know, information, perspective, etc. For, you know, if you do get a town that has rich fertility, on how you can approach it and kind of maximize it, right? But I think the start is kind of the hardest thing on if you do start with a rich fertility. Once you're established, then it's like extremely powerful. I think like in the long run, yeah, rich fertility is probably, yeah, like a, you know, it's probably the best individual, you know, if we count fertility as a resource deposit, which it technically is, right? It's the most powerful single resource deposit that you can have. Yes. It's just, it's also like one of the hardest ones to get established though, right? So bit of a double-edged sword there. I would say if you're more, I would personally recommend farming for more experienced players. You know, where you have a bit more experience with like micromanaging your labor and, you know, or you know, like we had here where we had like, I feel like in farming, you know, it could be a little bit more common to run into those situations like we had where it's like, oh geez, we're going to be struggling for food maybe until this like setup gets fully established, you know what I mean? So maybe knowing how to, you know, approach those sorts of situations and stuff like that might be necessary before like going for you know, a full-on farming setup. But once again, those are all just kind of just different schools of thought there, just kind of my opinion, but you know, they're all good options. It's just you know, really whatever works for you, right? I did just went to the tailor shop here, by the way, and made sure we switched it to the linen version of clothing, because that's what we have. We don't have yarn right now. We haven't invested in livestock in this setup just because we're doing this other stuff. So we'll take off our weaver's workshop because we're done with all the linen that we had. They're going to start making some clothes. Surprised we aren't doing pork for the meats. Yeah, that's another thing we could be doing too. So, especially if we take a look at our environment here. Really good point, Slinky. Absolutely. This is another thing that we've brought up in other playthroughs and stuff too. Slinky, absolutely correct. So I totally agree. Now, especially since we go to our environment tab here and we see we have a strong proportion of woodland environment, which gives us a good multiplier on this panache, I think is how you say it, right? This panache affinity bonus, which gives us a chance for extra yields from pig pens. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea, right? And especially now, we probably should have done this a while ago, to your point, especially when we were struggling with the food earlier. We should be built, yeah, we could have pig pens on like all of these houses basically. So this is another level 2. Oh yeah, this is going to be our brewery. That's right, brewery. Okay, and then so the rest of these we're going to put in livestock, bunch of livestock backyards. Will be really good. Great call, Slinky. Thank you for bringing that up. So this is something I would recommend doing, especially if you have the environment bonus for the woodland, for the panache affinity or whatever. These pig pen backyards are going to be great. So definitely recommend doing that. And especially, this is another thing, you know, you got, honestly, most of these, anything that I'm bringing up here, like all these strategies and stuff, I'm just assuming that you guys are going to have like at least a decently strong economy, because that's just kind of a necessity in my opinion at this point, you know, in this game. If you are struggling with economy, I'll post this guide here in the chat. If you just follow the guide that I posted for the economy, and you just do like the core 3 trade items that can be done in literally any region, you're going to be good. You're going to have a strong enough economy for anything. But yeah, so under that assumption, you know, that you guys have a pretty strong economy, obviously it does cost to, you know, you put a bunch of pigs in the backyards, you know, it's not free. But with our strong economy, basically feels free because we're not struggling for money. You know what I mean? And especially now that we started to sell the bread. Let's see. Have we already sold some? We can go to our trade records. Yeah, see, look, we're already starting to sell wheat bread. So, you know, we can see we're starting to make pretty good money here on, let's just go last year. So, you know, we just started selling the wheat bread, but, you know, that's going to start ramping up along with the charcoal. This is like, you know, specific to this build since we're doing the farming thing here. But otherwise, you know, we'd also be selling probably yarn and the small shields, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, all these pig pens are going to be great. And it's just passive too, you know, that's the best part about these. Boom. And let's go ahead into that development tree because we were thinking about this too. Yeah, this is the one we were talking about earlier, the Woodwright Journeyman. Improved bowyers and joiners is really good. Also reduce fuel consumption, which can also be pretty helpful because we're selling charcoal. That's it. See, I think this Woodwright Journeyman is actually really good for economy. Joiner shops work faster for more small shields to sell. Fuel consumption is less for more efficiency of charcoal and selling charcoal. And then militia rallied from this region, combat effectiveness plus 10%. That's pretty cool too. Now the only thing that sucks is that you get a less mining speed, which is already pretty bad, but I don't think this is going to be noticeable once the official patch drops and they adjust the mining rates to be increased. I don't think you're going to have a problem with minus 10% on that. There was another one that I was just thinking of with this livestock. Where is this one? I believe there's another one that I want to show you guys here real quick, which we could have considered here too, to go hand in hand with what we were doing here with adding all these pig pens. Right here, bottom right, widen hinterlanders, which remember we already mentioned this one for. So this one could also be this is another one that you would consider, right? So especially if we have the farming at the elevation, like we kind of talked about earlier, you pretty much need this one. But you also get so here you get an increase on the mining rates, so that's nice, right? But then here's the big one, right? All animals, including ox, horses, sheep, pigs, anything, minus 20% import price. So that is really good. So like, for example, if we're just like throwing in like dozens of these pig pen backyards, this could, you know, help with the cost significantly. So this widened hinterlanders is another decent perk to consider. It does have a minus, this is what I don't like about it though, minus 20% efficiency at the artisan workshops. Now that's going to cut into on the alternative we were looking at, an increase to the effectiveness on our artisans for the small shields, for example. This one will give us a decrease on that, which we do not want. But you do get, you know, each thing has its pros and cons, right? So this is something to consider if you are putting in a lot of, you know, livestock in the backyards or whatever, or you're importing a ton of sheep, which once again I highly recommend for basically any build. If you are struggling with those costs or anything, this is something to consider, the widened hinterlanders. So how many did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? So we put in like, what, 9 or 10 of these pig backyards. And we have so much bread that we're just selling bread. Yeah, guys, so I mean, you know, at this point, it's just kind of, you know, once you have it established, like as you can see, now we have our farming fields established. We could see how the labor, you know, the amount of labor that we had to put on there to get through that efficiently. We can see that now the bread is going buku now that we have the, you know, the bakery extension, and we adjusted our setup to be more efficient. As always, top priority. Economy is strong as usual. Yeah, guys, I mean, we got a lot of stuff going for us. We're starting to brew ale now too, because we're converting the barley into malt, and we built a brewery, and we have a tavern here. So, you know, they pretty much got, you know, a lot of their stuff taken care of now. We're gonna have meat coming in from the pig pen backyards, especially with our environment's affinity bonus from the woodland. So yeah. Oh, it's not panage, it's panage. 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 There you go. Myself vlogs. Paul, what's up, dude? Glad you could catch a live stream. Yeah, I think your Manor Lords content is the most informative and accurate for gameplay out there. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I try my best. I'm no, I'm no expert. I'm just, I'm just like you guys, just a fan of the game and everything. But I try my best for sure. I've been really working hard on, improving the quality of content and information and everything here on the channel. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Al Mustin, thank you so much too. Agreed. That means a lot, guys. Thank you. Yeah, so like Bap said, yeah, fertility and rich iron for new players in your suggestion, yeah. Right, but so the farming is, yeah, right. It's that's the thing. The farming is a different play style, right? Been to settle a full map, so having a farming town where barley is priced higher is nice. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, with good fertility, you can have yarn. Yeah, of course. We just, since this startup was a little scuffed after we crashed, we didn't really get to the point. I mean, we could be doing it right now. I think we're kind of getting to the point of wrapping up this playthrough for this stream. But we should also have livestock, as we should be importing sheep here as well, which is normally what we would have been doing. We have the wealth for it. At this point, we probably should have had, I don't know, 20 sheep plus or minus, you know what I mean? 20 to 30 sheep, something like that are, starting their passive reproduction cycle, and that we're starting to get wool and yarn from. And that would ramp up passively. And then we would also have here's where we would be like, oh, we're going to upgrade another house and get a joiner shop going and start selling small shields and all that kind of stuff. But main focus here was farming for today. Once again, guys, I'm sorry that we crashed earlier. Obviously, out of our control with the, the crashes seem to happen here on the beta more than usual. But that was unfortunate, and we kind of had to restart. But it was my bad that I didn't have the auto-save feature on. We had to come over to another scuffed save, but at least I had something. But I hope that it was still helpful for you guys to get some information. Main takeaways, honestly, guys, I would say, like, if you remember anything, is like, just make sure that the fields are in nice, compact, straight line rectangles. Ideally around like half Morgan size. That's the best suggestion I can give, as far as like it really has an impact on like the shape and size of the field that you make. Something with like the pathing, internally for how they do the sowing and stuff gets like extremely inefficient if the fields are not kind of like a uniform straight edge sort of shape and size. So that is definitely my number one, thing. If you remember anything from this, definitely that. Also, just the pre-planning is extremely important, where you go ahead and look at, in particular, where do you have overlap between flax and barley. If you have dark green overlap between flax and barley, that's probably going to be the space that you want to utilize the most, because chances are it's also going to be rich for wheat. And if it's not rich for wheat, it's definitely going to be rich for rye. But wheat is probably just going to be rich pretty much everywhere for you anyways. So if you have overlap areas where there's flax and barley dark green, that's the ideal place to be putting your fields. And then do the rotation like we did, where, we did flax, for example, then this goes down to like 50% fertility because we just harvested flax, and now that land is not fertile for flax temporarily anymore. Then we're going to switch it to something else. So remember, this one was either like, for example, this one was either like barley or wheat for beforehand. We finished that harvest, and then we changed it to flax. And then now, once the flax finishes, then we'll change it back to whatever it was originally. That fertility will most likely have restored back, to full by that time. So then we'll just switch it back to that, and then, rinse and repeat. And if anything, too, you could even, if the fertility for say, for example, we had barley on this one first, right? And then the barley went low, and then we switched it to flax. If by the time this flax is done, if the barley hasn't fully returned to full fertility, then we could go ahead and switch it to wheat. And then guaranteed by the time you do the wheat, then the barley will be reset by the time that comes around or whatever. You know what I mean? So you should basically be farming. You should be farming a crop that has a high fertility every single season. Every single field should be harvesting a crop that has at least, decently high fertility every season. They should always be being worked. Unless you have a region that does not have high fertility and you only have maybe some smaller patches of rye that you're utilizing, you might need to have some, you probably need to do like a harvest one year and then let it fallow the next year, maybe even fence it up and let the sheep help the fallow restoration. But otherwise, if you are on full fertility, you should not, none of your fields should be going fallow, ever. You should be utilizing, every field should be planted with a crop at a decently high fertility rating every year, constantly, all the time. So that the pre-planting there is the most important part. So that's step one. Make sure you guys check your region, check your layout, think about what you're going to do as far as like, okay, here's where I have overlap of flax and barley. I know I want to put fields here. Next thing, think about, okay, so in relation to that, maybe, where do I want to have my farmhouse? Where do I want to have my storage, right? How can I make a efficient setup based on where those fields are going to be? And then, plan from there. Go plan around that, right? But yeah, I'll have another poll, guys, for the next. I got to assume that this patch is going to be coming out this week. Oh, side note, we can see here's some pork coming in. So like Slinky said, there we go. We got some pork already coming into the town from our livestock backyards there, our pig pens. So that's great. That fulfills another requirement here. I mean, see, these houses are also ready to level up now too, Even our level 2 houses, they have, look how good our level 2 houses are looking even, They have everything other than the third category of food and a level 2 church, which we could level up the church pretty easily if we wanted to. And, getting that third tier of food, we would probably, ideally, we'd have orchards to get the fruit, but we just didn't really bother with that here. But that's how we would get that. The last live stream we did last week was really focused on getting tier 3 housing. So if you want a little more information about that, definitely encourage go check that one out. But yeah, I'll have another poll here, guys, for like upcoming live streams. I know farming was very heavily voted on for this weekend, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it was helpful. But I'll post more polls for the upcoming. We'll do live streams at least once a weekend. And I do have more guides in the works, guys. I just I am kind of waiting for the patch to actually come out, because I really am expecting. I'm surprised it hasn't came out yet, and I don't want to I don't want to put too much more information out there that could be subject to heavy change. You know what I mean? So definitely more guides and stuff will be coming very soon. Hopefully, as soon as they drop that patch officially and we have actual concrete set of things that actually work or whatever, then I'll have more information coming out. But until then, I'll still have more content coming out, and we'll definitely keep doing the live streams regardless. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys hopping in and participating and interacting and all that. It really means a lot to me, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great. You can set a longer time period between autosaves. How do you do that? But can you go beyond 15? Like 15 minutes is the max, right? Like you can't make it longer than that, right? Yeah, I set it back on 15. The reason I had it off is because like sometimes I'll be like in the middle of like recording a scene and it'll be like going really, really well, and then all of a sudden it'll just like, the big auto save thing will just like come up and just be like, dude, come on. But yeah, I gotta remember now. I'm gonna make a post-it note turn that back on for live streams. Yeah, good. Thanks, Slinky. Appreciate it. Came in late. Did we talk about using the crop rotation? No, I just did it all manually as far as turning the fields over. I just kind of prefer to do it manually, but you could select crop rotation right here. So for example, right, like we kind of just briefly talked about. So for example, like this one's wheat. So we know that like we're going to want to switch it to something else. God, freaking villagers at the market, man. They just yap. All right. So we know like this one right here is wheat right now. So we know we're gonna want to put it. So we could do like flax next, and like barley after that, for example. So we could go ahead and set that for all of these fields with the crop rotation, and then they will just automatically, turn the fields over to whatever you set it. This is totally another great approach too, you know what I mean? I don't know why, I just kind of prefer to manually do it during the harvest window. I don't know, just a preference, I guess. But yeah, you can definitely use the crop rotation here, and it does give you information about like the other fertilities that you can expect for the upcoming ones too. So just making sure that you're alternating between whatever is, and giving time for each specific crop type to refertilize is the name of the game there. Yeah, there's also some we didn't talk about this either, and to be honest, I don't really have too much insight on this, nor will I recommend this currently, because apiaries are pretty much worthless otherwise. But once they do, like right now, apiaries, they produce the honey, and the honey, we don't have anything in the game right now to use honey for. It's going to be an ingredient for like baking cookies and making mead, for example. Those aren't in the game yet, but once those are in the game, I do believe having apiaries in the backyard extensions and utilizing the honey for the other stuff, and then you also get the bonus from this pollination. This is based on if you have the meadow environment affinity in your region. That is also going to be very big too. So like I said, right now it's not really something that I've experimented with, nor would I really honestly recommend, because apiaries are just pretty much useless. I mean, you could just like make honey and sell it or whatever, that's fine too. But obviously, until they introduce like the actual uses for honey, apiaries are kind of, more of a limited usage type of thing. But once that actually becomes like, we'll need honey in your town, using this pollination bonus on top of that and building more apiaries that will magnify the effect of this pollination, I think is also going to be a very, very strong approach. And that's good to, yeah, let's see what Val says here. He has more info on it. One sec though. Johan, yeah, use your channel is a great resource. Oh, thank you. Live streams are a cool way to build a community around it. Yeah, thanks. No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, the live streams, they're not nearly as objectively helpful for me and the channel. But I really enjoy doing them. I think it's just like a really great way to connect with you guys, and good opportunity to answer some questions, share information. A lot of the time, of course, I like to share as much information to you guys as I have, but honestly, a lot of the time too, I feel like I learn a lot from doing these streams. Some of you guys have some really good insight on some of this stuff too that I feel like I've learned a lot. So yeah, I definitely enjoy doing the streams. It's not as beneficial for the channel, like objectively, compared to like doing other stuff, but I definitely enjoy it. So I'm glad to hear that you guys enjoy it too. So we'll definitely keep doing them. Yeah, thanks for the stream and the content. Yeah, heck yeah. No worries, guys. I really, really appreciate you guys saying that. Thanks, Baff. Yeah, you guys are great. Really appreciate that. Yeah. Yes, if you had say 5 autos. right. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So regarding this pollination thing, so 5 apiaries will be the maximum boost. Gives you a 10% bonus to yield per field. That's great to know. I did not know that. So there you go. There you have it, guys. So if you were to you could increase this pollination effect by 10% if you have 5 apiaries. There you have it. Okay. So once again, it's not necessarily something that I would recommend right now, but once they implement the uses for the honey, I think that's going to be like a pretty big, that might actually make farming, like having a rich fertility, I think it's going to make it even more desirable, right? Because then that combination of like apiaries and farming is going to be very strong. So I could definitely see, like, even for me and even in my own preference, like I said, I don't really typically like farming too much, to be honest. I can definitely see, like, once the apiaries come in full, once they're full utilization, I could definitely see like a rich fertility being a much higher preference. then you get double benefit with, you know, those apiaries, honey, and then, you know, good pollination bonus or whatever. So yeah, I could definitely see that. Well, cool guys. I think we're gonna call it for here. That was a lot of fun, guys. Once again, sorry we had the crash earlier, but luckily we had a little backup town here to hop into for some more farming stuff. But yeah, guys, I hope it helped. And once again, I really appreciate you guys being here. And thank you so much for, you know, just being part of the community, all the nice words. It really means a lot to me. I sincerely appreciate it. And I will have, like I said, more content coming. I am kind of waiting at this point for the update to officially be out, because, you know, I don't want to be giving too much more information that could be very much subject to change and stuff. So, you know, I felt confident that it would be out by now. So that being said, I'm definitely confident that it's going to be out like by this week, right? Like, come on. And if not, then I don't know. Maybe I'll just put some more videos out regardless. But like I said, we'll keep doing the live streams. I'll post another poll for, you know, the upcoming next live stream for the next weekend. We'll try to do at least 1 or 2 live streams a weekend. So yeah, guys, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend here and a great week coming up. And yeah, let's all collectively pray that we get the official update this week, right? That's right. Yeah. All right, my fellow lords. Yeah. Great stream. I appreciate it, guys. All right, so, all right, my fellow lords. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend and a great week ahead. And I hope to see you in the next video, next stream, whatever it is, here on the channel. You guys rock. All right, guys. Thank you so much. You're the best. All right, we're out for now, guys. Peace out. Have a good one, y'all.